Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 199th live stream from the MisfitGamersStudios. I'm your host, Vortex, and this is D&D Discussions. On today's episode, we have the Vanir. No, we're not going to the dentist. This is a new playable race from MartyTheFearless called Vanir, based off of Valheim iconology, I guess I was trying to say there. But yeah, I'm really curious to see what this one is. I think we've gotten I think this is the other side of the playable races that we've seen before from Marty. So now we're going to be adding on to what we've already seen. So join us as we figure out exactly what Marty has in store for us with Vanir.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the other one. Aesir, yes, right. So we had the Aesir before, and now we got the... Okay, right, butting heads just a little bit in terms of that. So yeah, that's really interesting. I'm really curious to see how much we get from that. But a couple updates. His mic is not coming through. Oh, you're not plugged in. That's why.
I'm not plugged in.
Should just be the loosen up. Whoops. Good. Thank you so much for letting us know. We would have gone probably half the stream before noticing that. Should be fixed now. No worries.
Check. Testing.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right. So yeah, we have the Vanir, the opposite of the Aesir from MartyTheFearless. So I'm really curious about that. But before we begin, we do have... Oh, the Vanir is the nature side of Norse gods.
Okay. Oh, okay. Love that. I always have to caveat this. I wrote it in there, but Marty had some really cool art for this, but they were all for the sub races and didn't have any for the main race. So I found something that kind of fit the same vibe that they were going for. Needed a little spacer, so hopefully you like it, Marty. We'll see.
So the first one won't be author approved.
Won't be author approved, but the rest are.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But yeah, so a couple updates. We have our community stream this coming Saturday, so that'll be our October community stream. We are still waiting for everybody in Discord to make the decision on what episode we will be doing. Right now, it is tied between another pop culture build or an entire day of homebrew review where we go through as many as we can in 6 hours.
Hey.
I will say that while I put that in there, I wasn't thinking when I did and it's not going to be my favorite option, not
Sure.
because I don't want to do it, but because today is the official 199th episode of D&D Discussions, which is really just devolved in mostly into homebrew review, but there are other topics and things that we've discussed in D&D Discussions before. And next week will be, of course, the 200th episode, but it will also be the 100th community reviewed item. So this
is 99 today.
This is number 99.
You are 99, Marty.
And so if we were to do a whole homebrew review on
that's kind of
Saturday,
fair.
then we would
hit the 200th, not on the or we'd hit the 100th review on not the 200th episode.
Yeah, so if that happens, I was looking at more of like showcases, things that we normally wouldn't do on homebrew review day. They have a different scoring system altogether.
Yes.
It's out of 5 stars instead of a 10, because we know that they're not things that are meant to be adopted. So they get a star system out of how likely I would want to play it based on what I hear.
For sure.
So there's a little bit of difference there. But yeah, that may save it, because at least we'll have a different leaderboard for showcases. Yes. And it won't be, because I believe that the leaderboard now doesn't have any of the showcases. Correct. Right? So yeah, correct. So you are number 99. We have done 99 community reviews total. We have done a couple more. We've done more reviews overall, but we've gotten on the leaderboard. We've gotten rid of all non-community reviews, because I used to do an episode called High Low, where I would rate, or I would go and review the highest and lowest rated items on D&D Beyond in a certain section.
That's true. That was
so I would grab like, the highest spell and the lowest rated spell and review those on the same day.
And there were times where I submitted some other reviews from like TikTok and stuff like that, and we haven't included those.
Yeah, so we've done, I don't know, we've definitely done over 100 reviews total, but right now we are at 99 community reviews. We're episode 199 for D&D Discussions. Next week is, I don't know if I will stop it, because based on some of the other polls that I posted in Discord, people do want D&D Discussions back. Just the general day where we pick a topic and we just rant together on it.
Yeah.
Or other ones where we do some deep dives, talk to chat about it. So if that's coming back, maybe I will keep counting, but I wanted to at least get till next week where we do the counting intro for D&D Discussions. Because it used to be every single day. It used to be Monday and Friday.
Yeah.
We counted, because every day was D&D Discussions. That was what everything was titled. But once we kind of stopped doing Friday,
branching out a little bit, doing more games, more.
Yeah, we wanted to become more Misfit gamers and
yes.
not just D&Ders. So D&D Discussions has kind of just fallen into the background of homebrew review. So I almost thought about stopping the count. I almost thought maybe get rid of the intro and just do the stream without worrying about the intro, without worrying about counting and all of that. But if we bring D&D Discussions back, I don't know, because maybe people like over time will only ever know us for that.
Sure.
Maybe people will know us for something else. So I don't know if it's enough of a deep cut. I don't know if anyone cares that we count the episodes anymore, because we've done way more than 200 actual streams, right?
Sure.
So it's like, I don't know if it's worth counting a type of episode, considering that we do so much more. But maybe that's like the thing, right? Maybe in a couple of years we get to the 500th episode of D&D Discussions, where people know us from all this other stuff, but then they hear, wait, it's like, you've done 500 of these episodes? I knew you from Fortnite, or I knew you guys from OSR. What do you mean you have 500 episodes of D&D talk? So you know what I'm saying? Like, I that's part of it. Is part of me wants to keep it, because nowadays, we think about all the other stuff that we do, the game streams, the TikTok account and OSR that we're going to build. And so maybe just having those other communities come to the realization that we have X hundred number of episodes in a specific topic. Because if we keep D&D Discussions going, and D&D Discussions truly is anything D&D related,
sure,
and then we just branch out with like OSR or game night or whatever else, then the episode count matters, and D&D Discussions still remains the category of choice.
Sure. For
our origin, which is talking D&D. So yeah, I'm still thinking about keeping it, but
okay,
it's just one of those things of I'll keep it if we go back to using D&D discussions as our foundation and as something that we continue to do on Fridays and Mondays.
Right. Okay, bet. I'm here for it.
It's weird how things change. Like all of the ideas I've had, all of the things that we no longer do, the things that we do as well that we haven't, that we never did before. It's just, it's quite insane to think of all of the changes that have happened in what, almost 3 years now? Well, 2.5 years of streaming.
Yeah. It goes so fast, dude.
It goes
so fast, man.
It's kind of crazy.
It really is.
And to think I'm not, actually doing anything on YouTube right now, like in terms of I stopped editing content, which we're going to be ramping that back up as well. So we'll be getting back
that was another thing we were talking about.
More edited content. It's not going to be super fancy edits. It's just going to be things that cut a lot of the essence out. Like, these intros, these half hour, 45-minute talks before we get into the review will be cut out, and then we'll just post the review itself. Things of that sort until we can get an editor, maybe one day. But that's kind of long. Yeah. We've been here 2.5 years. I started it was May 5th, 2023. May 5th, 2023 was the first day I
Michael
started.
Jordan's year. 23, baby.
That's when I started streaming. That was the very first episode of D&D discussions and of this channel. And yeah, we're now here. We have 100 followers. We have a good solid, I would say, at least somewhere in the ballpark of 8 to 10 pretty loyal viewers.
Yeah.
I would say probably about 4 or 5 really loyal and supportive viewers. But yeah, it's just kind of crazy. But to grow, we're gonna have to expand, and to expand, just means I have to spend my time doing things. So
doing all the things.
Getting back to that, and maybe even increasing where we stream. So another option that we're going to be looking into shortly is upgrading our multi-stream platform in order to go live, not just on Twitch and YouTube for the VOD channel, but I'm hoping to go live on both our VOD channel and our main channel on YouTube, and then TikTok and possibly Kick. I don't know. Still not convinced.
Kick? I've never heard of that.
Kick is an up-and-comer. They're basically bankrolled by, I think it's, I forget what the company is behind them, but they're basically fronted by online gambling companies.
Oh.
So they had a really rough start. A lot of people don't really like them because of that. Because they, basically support gambling to kids and they really can't go wrong right now, because no matter what they do, they're bankrolled by casinos. So the idea is, no matter, they're kind of in the heyday right now of being able to figure out how to survive. They're not really at all close to Twitch or YouTube. Like they're the third right now, but they're still.
Well, do they have like a lot of what kind of content do they usually? Is it usually
mostly gambling?
So it's like watching people like in Vegas gambling or whatever.
No, it's a gambling streams where it's like the streamer is like doing either gambling on a website or sometimes the streamers are like remote dealers, so they'll stream themselves remote dealing to online games. It's a very strange thing. But outside of that, you get a lot of other regular streams. Like there are just other regular streamers on there now. It basically looks like Twitch, but it's green. They actually stole the source code, so it's it's like 98% Twitch,
but green.
1% green, and then 1% gambling.
That's funny.
And yeah, aside from that, it is steadily growing because they can and they have money. They did a lot of contracts, like a couple multi-million-dollar contracts with major Twitch streamers to come over exclusively. So that gained them a lot of notoriety.
Oh wow! They
have a lot of I would say controversial content streamers on there as well. A lot of IRL streamers go there.
Fair enough.
They have the highest payout, whereas Twitch is 50-50. They're 95.5. But they can afford to do that because they're bankrolled by casinos. And they have no advertisers, right? Or they have like very few advertisers because, again, the content that they have, most advertisers don't align themselves with.
Sure.
So while it seems profitable and they have money to burn, I'm not convinced that we're that kind of, we wouldn't go anywhere on that topic. If you think about the average amount of accounts that are like the average amount of streamers on like Twitch is like always in like the tens of thousands, and YouTube is a little bit less than Twitch in terms of live streamers, but obviously of live viewers, YouTube is always king.
Sure.
But when we're talking about tens of thousands, like the average amount of streamers active, or the average amount of active accounts on Kick is like 3,000 or 4,000.
And that's just not necessarily who's streaming. That's just accounts active.
That's just average. Yeah. Like the streamers are also like, a fraction. The total viewers, live viewers are a fraction. So it's appealing if you already have a good audience that
you can bring with you,
that can bring money. But to grow on there, now granted, there's not as much visibility, or there's more visibility because there's less people on there. So it is possible to do that, but I was just never really convinced that it would be good for the brand, because again, I just don't know how many people who would like our content
would be
go
to
Kick right now. But the bigger they
Fair
get,
enough.
the more that becomes an option. And it's kind of one of those things where, as much as I don't,
and to be honest, you never know where crossover lies. So somebody could be over there for completely different reasons and just also happen to like D&D, and to be like, oh snap, there's a D&D creator over
and
here.
that's my
Like,
thing
let's check it out.
I would have to figure out how much control I have. My biggest hesitation, and I will probably look into it, is how much control I have over the types of advertisements, right? Like, I have only control over when my advertisements happen on TikTok,
Not what
or
the
on
ads
Twitch.
are.
But, the thing is I can't control my audience, right? I don't necessarily have an adult-only audience, and I don't necessarily have adult-only content.
Sure.
And maybe one day we'll have to make that distinction, and on, because we do drink and have adult conversations.
Sure.
But the thing is I just don't want to have the brand associated with supporting or advertising gambling to people that it would be an issue for, or to minors.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so if I can go there, and if there is any advertising that I have to deal with, then that's one thing. Or if it's still as bad as it used to be, where you go to Kick's homepage and the top 3 are slot machine games, or the top, basically the top row is all.
Sure.
It used to be that bad to where it's like, oh yeah, we're not really promoting it to kids. Go to your homepage and it's all
That's
gambling.
all you got. Yeah.
Kind of like, you go to TikTok and it's always, or Twitch, it's always going to be the best streamers always on top, because that's who has the most views. So therefore you might as well go watch them because they're the popular ones, right?
Sure.
But when you do that on an app where it's like, I'm trying to do a different type of community, how do I differentiate myself? And if I can't, is that something I want for this brand?
Very fair.
Personally, yes, Vortex, I do like gambling, but it is not something that, I would normally suggest to anybody, simply because I know how bad it can get.
You're like, I'm not here trying to push it on you. I know I can enjoy it, and I know the limits in which I can enjoy it too. But listen, it's not always that easy for everybody else, and that's very fair and respectable. So
and I just don't want, I don't want that to be a factor in the branding that we do. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I also got to think of, well, if there is no brand to worry about, it's like morals can go so great, far. But if we ever want this to do something, not to say that we should break our morals, for money, but there's that point of, if it's going to be such an obstacle, maybe we should rethink what that obstacle actually is.
Sure.
And if we can overcome that obstacle while also doing something about it. So I don't know. It's one of those things for me of, I'm not going to go evil just to make money, but
sure.
At the same time, I recognize that not everything has to be a line in the sand. Some things just have to be a representation of, we can do better.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Sure.
Speaking of ads, you got one for Taco Bell and Twitch Turbo.
Wild.
Well, I mean, that's they know who their audience is, apparently. They know who our audience is, apparently.
That's funny.
All right. So if you are watching and you aren't already part of the Discord, and you want to have a say in what we do this weekend for the community stream, join the Discord, hop in the community streams channel, and let us know what you want to see this weekend, and we will see you there. Otherwise, I don't think there's any other major updates, so we can get to review.
Absolutely.
Time to get to the review. All right. Well, as always, we are going to start with a wonderful description. I love it when these things have descriptions.
Absolutely.
All right, so we have the Vanir, a new playable race by MartyTheFearless, and we shall start with the description. The Vanir are from the realm of Valheim. Let me restart that. The Vanir are from the oh my gosh. Why can I not say that?
It's a tongue twister, man.
It's really not, though.
It feels like it is. Like, I don't know if I could do it.
The Vanir are from the realm of Valheim. Most Vanir are born in Valheim, a land of lush forests, jungles, and natural beauty. This gives them a very strong connection to the natural world, and most of the well-known Vanir.
I think it's weird because it's capitalized. I don't think it should be.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out here. Is like,
yeah, is that part of a title or something?
Okay, so this gives them a very strong connection to the natural world, and most of the well-known Vanir are seen in the mortal realm, protecting natural landscapes or helping shepherd the dead. Valheim is the home of the Idun apples, which lets them extend their lifespans. I think I said that correctly. I probably did. Most Vanir send their children to the mortal realm to learn about souls and nature, to learn to be nurturing and caring for the land and its people. Some Vanir have moved to the realm of the Aesir, living there instead, such as Freya, who had married Odin. Ooh, I like this part where they send them to the mortal world to get an understanding for their job in the afterlife. This is such a unique approach to a character design, or at least a background, because it kind of turns the concept of a background on its head, right?
Sure.
It's almost like the reverse of the Deva, who have had 1,000 lifetimes and are just going through it. But on the same note, this is almost giving that vibe of, you know what's to come, but you have to be prepared for it. Whereas most people have a background, they know where they came from, and they don't know where they're going.
Sure.
The Deva have thousands of history, and their only idea is to just continue to the next one. So I'm not that worried. But these ones are all about, I know where I'm going, but I'm not ready for it.
Right.
It's a really unique way of portraying a character, and I see so much value in adding that into the lore and the description to give players an understanding of how you can really adapt that into the RP. That's the kind of stuff that I like from second edition and from older modules.
Absolutely.
And just other TTRPGs, where the roleplay is so much part of the build as is the mechanics. And this is one of those aspects of having that built in there is going to provide such a unique way to be able to play that character. So I'm super happy with that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but as soon as he mentioned those Idun apples, did we not talk about that when the last race happened? I think it came up in conversation. I don't know if it was actually a part of the build.
I think Marty may have been mentioning them because of the connection, but I don't remember if they were part of the build.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember them being a part of it. Oh, it was part of the race itself. Okay, so it was in there. So they also had...
Okay, so they did have something to do with it. Okay, very interesting.
Well, it does say that, the Aesir ate them to expand their lifespan indefinitely, but only in Asgard. Okay, so that's all, both of them, that's just kind of their, once they've grown into their eras, or, whether they're going to be a Vanir or an Aesir, then they have those to continue.
Gotcha.
After their time in the mortal
realm. Okay.
That's how I'm putting this all together, is after their time in the mortal realm, they ascend, take their position, and then use these apples to continue their job.
Because it's like you have to eat them to maintain your immortality, basically. So like you can go like a very long time without one, but eventually, I swear, didn't they have something? What was that one movie? Who's the guy that played Batman in The Dark Knight?
Which one?
The Dark Knight.
Oh, Dark Knight. That was Christian Bale.
Christian Bale played this weird guy that like had this crazy weird sword, but he started off in this like garden. Like this sword could like kill gods or whatever. I feel like it was a Marvel movie, but I'm not sure. I think it was the one where was it Thor: Love and Thunder, or was it the one where?
I like doesn't Christian Bale being in any of those?
He played this really like.
Oh, so Thor: Love and Thunder. That's the one movie I didn't. That's one of the movies I didn't watch.
He didn't look like Christian Bale. He was in this like super pale. He looked
Gore the God Butcher.
There you go. There
Gotcha.
you go. Yeah. He was out there like killing gods with this weird. I swear they had something about like these gods needed some garden where he started or where he ended. So I don't know, but I like this concept. I think it's a cool way to like
another thing I
connect the lore.
One thing I really like about this too is I don't know if this is meant for other DMs, if it's just meant for lore, or if Marty has a purpose for this, but this is something that I take to as well for the way that I run High Point. Looking at the concept that this side of the duality is essentially meant to be the Reapers. They're meant to, be the ferrymen.
Sure.
And this is their way of gathering their numbers. You go to the mortal world, you learn, and then we add you to our numbers. To me, that speaks volumes of, at least for me, how I think of building out the afterlife and building out how the hierarchy of the divine work. Because the more traditional concept is, death, the single unique entity is the one that greets you, everyone,
Sure.
all the time, right? Whereas I think in Supernatural, they kind of showed that there are multitudes of Reapers that do that job. Death is just the boss.
Kind of like Soul Reapers. Fucking Bleach.
Yeah.
Yes. God bless America.
And that's where I like about this is something that in High Point I think about, which is what are the various positions, right? We've talked a lot about how to ascend in High Point. And we talked about things like, what does it mean to be an immortal? What does it mean to be a lesser god? What does it mean to ascend to the point to where you're actually a god with responsibilities? So one of those things, right? Like how does a lesser god become an actual important god? Well, more often than not, just like with Ascension, it comes with getting the right person's attention and getting enough notoriety. One of those things that you can do, usually as one of the lesser types of gods, is be a Reaper.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I swear we talked about this, but in High Point, there are certain elements where I swear you gave them a different designation other than gods. There are these like Eternals, like things that just are outside of High Point.
The things that exist just because without their, they exist because things are in existence.
Yes.
Yeah. Eternals would be.
And so
right.
like would death?
Yeah, death is an eternal.
Yes. Okay.
Death itself, there are gods of death and gods that rule the passage within High Point.
Sure.
But the fact that death exists means that Death the Eternal is here and has power, but Death the Eternal isn't really there for a job. They don't have a reason. They're just the embodiment of, because death exists here.
Sure.
The embodiment of that aspect also has a presence, but he doesn't have a job. His mere existence is because there is death. And if somehow, the gods of the realm wanted to stop all death, right? It's not really his concern.
Right.
It's just more of that's also a problem for everybody else. And that's why there are people who, are the harbingers of that process.
This might be a weird question, but theoretically, if somebody got a wild hair up their ass and decided, I just don't want there to be death anymore, I want to go kill this Eternal. I want to go stop that Eternal from being able to do whatever it does. Like, setting aside whether it is possible, if it were to happen, would it be like death stops functioning, like people stop dying? Would it be or would it be like just there's chaos in that transition? Or is the answer yes and?
There is an answer. So in the way that I look at it, again, because they don't have jobs here, it's just more of a, because death now exists in High Point, so Death the Eternal has a presence here. But death as the Eternal also exists anywhere there's death, so that's why it goes beyond High Point.
Sure.
So even if you were to somehow banish death from High Point, the only logical way to do that would be to not have death in High Point. So it's not so much go get rid of the eternal death to stop death from happening. It's more like, if you want to get rid of him, you have to stop his presence from being here. Therefore, you'd have a better chance at stopping death from happening within High Point than trying to get him out of here to stop death
Interesting.
It's not that him being here is causing death. It's because death can happen in High Point means that there is the need for the Eternal to exist.
So it's almost like if you somehow stopped anyone in High Point from ever dying again, he would lose his reach in
exactly. It's more like a sphere of influence. It's more like a reach. And the aspect of if you were to be able to somehow control it to where you said everything in High Point cannot die, there is no death in High Point, he would lose his foothold. He would not technically have a presence here, but that does nothing because he'll just be anywhere else. And again, think about the multitudes of where death exists. One thing that blinks in and out of existence every now and again is nothing to him.
I was about to say, like, would he even like fight to maintain it, or just be like, do what you gotta do, bro?
And guess what that means? If you shut off death to that is the death of something. That is still just part of what, like,
sure.
That's the thing is you know, you can't really do that. And then once death came back, you know, can you shut off death forever?
Can you though?
So yeah, that's just one of the things that, or would a god of death transcend to an eternal spot? So the way that I have the lore in High Point, that's interesting. There basically the Eternals is the kind of the cutoff because they are the embodiment of a thing, and therefore the thing creates it. It's not really, again, you can't really
kind of like a mantle.
Yeah, but mantles can be taken over. You can kill what is holding the mantle and take over it. But for an Eternal,
so an Eternal's existence is the vacuum of power, so to speak. It's like, it's almost like because death exists, I exist. So trying to kill me isn't really a thing because there's nothing for you to kill. It's there's that person behind you still died. Yeah, and you killing me means death happened. So
and it's not so much like if you kill this body, something else takes over. It's like, you know, yes, it may take a different form, but the entity itself can't die because the entity itself is just merely a presence because of a greater thing that exists, right? They're not
mutually exclusive.
Yeah, they're not two different entities. Death isn't an entity. Death is a presence because of the process of death. And that's just how I classify Eternals, because I just kind of wanted, because if you look at like what D&D did, if you ever do that just progressive regression, it gets ludicrous. Like look at any anime after season 3.
I mean,
it just gets like no anime can go past season 3 without just getting to the point of why season 1 mattered not. Nothing in season 1 mattered because oh my god. I mean, like you see it in any, I mean, Marvel got to that point, Dragon Ball Z just got to that point. There's nothing that gets to a point to where you can't infinitely regress if you don't have a cap. But that cap has to be interesting. And it has to be to a point.
I wish it was the story that they extended, not the cap. Yes. Because that's what they do. They're always like, oh, we need to get bigger and scarier.
That's what my decision is. Like, basically, if you got to the point in High Point where you were to the point to where you could, like, if you got so powerful and became a god in High Point but kept gaming and got to the point to where you could challenge Zenith, at that point, Zenith would just be like, look, you're not gonna beat me in my own realm. But if you're at the point to where you're gonna be a thorn in my side, let us discover a way to give you your own. And essentially Zenith would just try to do what happened to him, which is find you your own sphere, your own crystal sphere, your own bubble, and go there. Now you are the god of your realm. And essentially, because the whole point would be at that point, I can no longer game for you. You're basically so advanced, you might as well DM your own realm. That would be my mentality of it, right? And that's why the power cap exists, is because at that point, for you to get more strong, like for that character,
that just makes sense as far as your progression.
Well, and think about it. When I say that Zenith is, Zenith was my character, so it's not like I ever stopped gaming. The more High Point grows, the more powerful Zenith is, right? So that's kind of the progression. But Zenith will never be an Eternal, right? Because in my opinion, the reason why I cap it there is I can have all of the mantles I want. They're just, power vacuums within High Point. But once you go beyond a concept that is beyond what I'm in control of, I'm not allowed to take that anywhere, right? Like I can't control the aspect of death in your mind. I cannot control Kage's mentality of what death is and what it concerns. And death is here, right? Death has a presence in the real world because death exists here under what High Point's mentality is, right? So no matter how I explain how death represents themselves in High Point, the entity, in my opinion, is insurmountable because it's more of a presence. I cut the power off there,
Sure.
because that way you now have a clear end goal, but that end goal is meant to open up you to a different experience. Once you've gotten that powerful, go create, which means go be a DM. Go start to have the power to literally craft stories for other people. And then, you know what I mean? Like, literally, that's the ultimate power. The ultimate power is creation.
Yeah.
And it's not just this level cap of, well, once you go after an eternal, well, then there's primordial. Well, then once you go after the primordial, well, then there's essence. And then once you go after essence, then there's the void. And then once you go after the void, there's the multiverse. And then you're just like, why? What's the point of being that powerful?
Weren't we just talking about that when we were looking up Gwenpool? And
yes.
How we were talking about like
exactly.
the top tier of Marvel is literally the writers. And if you're like finding an entity that is out here fighting the writers, like
exactly,
what the heck are you doing, bro?
And funny enough, just like in D&D, that's what the ancients are. If you ever see, in my opinion, if you ever see a reference to the ancients, that is the writers of D&D.
Okay.
Like past the primordials, past the eternal, past primordial, past gods, past everything that's in D&D, the references to the ancients, in my opinion, are literally the gods of D&D. Like when they talk about like the ancients wrote the 9th level spells and then like that was it, or they had the most powerful spells. Yeah, they literally wrote the book and decided what you could and couldn't do. Like there's a point at which those secrets are locked because they said we're not going to put them in here. And that's, that's where that kind of hierarchy, like Zenith can never become an ancient.
Sure.
I can't. I'm not, unless I would only accept it unless I got hired by Wizards of the Coast or something to write an official D&D book, and then I could be like, okay, Zenith is an ancient now. That would be my only like.
Yo,
pass.
watch them take some of our stuff and be like, yo, let me buy that off you, and be like, okay.
Like that would be the only pass I would give myself.
They see the ADMG and we're like, we kind of like that, bro.
Man, the ADMG would be so great. Will be. Gotta stop saying.
Hell yes.
It will be so great.
Yes, it will.
All right, so let's get back into this review. So I'm really liking this. I'm digging what it helps DMs think about in terms of story building, and I like that it can be hand wavy. It can just be that's how it works, or you can truly incorporate it into the rest of how you operate. And I really like that. I really like how it's written. But again, it gives me enough to go off of, but doesn't force me down any particular path.
True.
All right, so that was just Kage's art. Not too bad. Kind of dig it. This is it. All right, so we have our stats, and then we have our sub races. So our stats are age. Vanir normally live to be about 1,000 years, as their blood has a bit more of Idun's magic flowing through their veins. They reach maturity around 18 years old. Now, I am curious, is this natural without the apples? And is there a mechanic that, Marty, have you built to represent what apples will do? Is apples 100 years? Because that would make sense. If you live to 1,000 and an apple will grant you 100, that actually makes a good sense of I'm extending my life meaningfully, but I do need to redo it repetitiously.
Right.
Like doing 1,000 years,
every
500
century,
years, it's whatever.
To go, like, get your journey to get your apple.
And that seems more like Valheim. There needs to be a pilgrimage. You need to prove it. Maybe you need to, maybe along the way there's a fight. So maybe you don't want to wait too long in your life to do the pilgrimage, because the older you get, the harder the pilgrimage is. So maybe it's,
So Marty says that it is their natural age without the apples. And so the way I kind of look at this, and the way that I would probably play this as a DM is what is the magic, that the Idun's magic that's in your blood comes from your parents, and because of the fact that they've lived their life on these apples and it has become a part of them, so they pass that on to you. So say somebody who was this lineage, but they lived their life without the apples, and they decided not to, I would say maybe they wouldn't get a full 1,000 years. Maybe they'd only get 600 to 800 years, right?
Well, Marty's saying that their intent was about 50 to 100 years per apple.
Oh, okay. No. I like that.
And I would definitely like that to believe that, especially with divine things, I would absolutely, how I would write it is, I don't mind 50. I prefer 100. I think 100 makes a lot of sense. Or maybe it's 10%. So the older you are, the more it gives you, kind of thing. But
I'm also curious.
Either way, I like the idea though that you can eat more than one apple at a time, but it's a progressive backfire. So like you get one every 100 years for free, right? And it's going to extend you by 100 years. But if you have more than that, it has like a 10% compounding chance. So every new apple is an extra 10%. So it's 10%, 20%, 30%, 40% chance of it having your lifespan. Or something like that. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
And like doing, or you can have, oh, no, here you go. You can have more than one, but it's the 10% compounding chance to become ill and then be allergic to them. So you can have one every 100 years, but if you have two, you have a 10% chance of becoming allergic and never being able to have one again. So you'll get your 200 years, but then you're done. Maybe you'll have three, maybe you'll get 300 years, but you have your fourth one, you'll get 400 years, but then you become allergic and can never have it again. So now you've just capped your life.
Interesting.
So that's why no one has more than one apple every 100 years. And that's why it would be a pilgrimage, is because you have to go earn it and you have to prepare your body, but no one ever really wants to push it. And maybe there are a couple people who are like really old who have pushed that boundary, but it's always that thing. And then because it's divine, that compounding never goes away. So let's say you're 500 years old, you're going to your fifth pilgrimage, you eat one, you get your 100, you decide I'm going to eat a second one. You get 200. Okay, cool. So now I get 200 years before I have to come back. I'm going to leave. 200 years later, you come back. You have one, you still have a 20% chance of becoming allergic.
Oh, interesting. It's
a potential allergy that stays. That's even more reason why no one does it. Because if it reset every 100 years, then everyone would probably always take the 10% chance.
They just do it every year. They would just take two.
Yeah,
every year
because it's the lowest chance. But once you take an extra one, from then on, every subsequent one,
and so if
has a compounding 10%.
If you come back after 200 years and eat two more, then you have a 30% chance at that point.
Yes.
Okay.
Like it's not every one from then will give you one, but it's every extra one. Like you always get
every
one
time
free,
you double up, you're adding 10%.
But the chance of you becoming allergic will always be there. Sure. Always.
Interesting.
And that's why no one does it.
Interesting. I like it.
That could even be a thing where like someone who's really old to the point to where it's like they would really need to do a couple. Like maybe they're going to go on a big journey. Like it's a big deal of this could be my last chance. Or, you know, maybe there's like someone of pure chaos who just went there and went buck wild and said, let's see how much life I can get. And went like 12 and then finally got sick after 12 of them. So they got 1,200 years, but then became allergic.
I would imagine that from this, there would be a cult of people who believe in gorging themselves on these apples just to see, like, hey, the gods are going to tell me how many years I'm supposed to live. So I'm just going to eat as many of these apples. And as soon as I become allergic, then that's how many years.
Right.
And it's just like, I'm just going to take whatever it is.
A god that does that to play fate. Fate says you will die in this many years. So they're like, fuck it, I'm gonna eat apples to make sure that can't happen. So they eat a whole bunch of apples, and that's what. And then they're like, see, so you said I was gonna die in 500. I ate 800 years worth of apples. Fuck you, fate. So they go around, and then 500 years later, they're at a party, and someone slips them an apple, and they lose half their life right there, to the point, like, and then you do that a couple times to where you just do it to where in 500 years they're able to be killed.
That could be crazy.
Like there's a whole storyline there. I kind of like the idea that that's what the allergy does to you. It's like, because it's an allergy. It's not like necessarily like poison, like instant death. It's like when you do this, you will get incredibly sick for a period of time. And then at the end of that sickness, your lifespan that immortality gave you has been halved. Yes.
And so it's like anytime you ingest an apple after that allergy, that's what occurs. And so that's why you just don't mess with it after that. But, you know, all right, this is how long I have, but you can still get fucked with. That's very interesting.
And then it makes me think, what would happen if an immortal ate the apple?
Okay, question for you. What if you eat an apple? It's good for 100 years. You eat a second apple at 50 years, not at the same time, not back to back, but you eat it.
It just would add 100 years, just in general. I think the whole point is.
But would it compound the allergy? Would you?
Oh yeah. That would be that would be your 10%. If you ate another one at 50 years, you have a 10% chance of getting an allergy because you only get one free one every 100 years.
Okay, so
it's like a centennial thing.
So does it have to be 100 years to the day if you eat it a day early?
I would say so. That's why. Again, we're talking about gods here. We're talking about like god level stuff. Everything is spectacle, ritual, precision. There's no reason. And for them,
it's almost like your birthday.
I mean,
your Apple Day.
I mean, for them, 100 years is like us going to a birthday. It's like, no, you can't. Or like Christmas presents. Like, you can't open that until tomorrow morning.
Sure.
It's shit like that. Like, I would absolutely, and that's why the pilgrimage is so good. There's a ritual because really you're just killing time until you can eat the damn apple. She's like, I got 6 more hours. Chant for me, mortals. You know what I mean? Like, you have to do this whole big thing. And then eventually it's like, okay, and I can eat my apple. There's 100 years.
I mean, you say what if an immortal ate it, but what if a regular mortal ate it? Like, I mean, yeah. Is there something about the god physiology that allows them to be able to?
So, in the high point answer would be that the apple has a chance of fucking you up. Like, it's just like so amazing that it could like give you like a crippling addiction, or it could be poisonous to you. But absolutely, I would say that for me, it would boost your lifespan significantly, and I might even let you roll for like a stat boost, because we're talking about like, you know, the god fruit. I would say like you get, you know, an extra 10 or 50 years added to your lifespan, or a 10% bonus to your lifespan, because, you know, different, you know, a 10% to a human, like, you know,
sure.
10 years to a human is different than 10 years to an elf.
Yeah,
but 100 years to a human is way different than 100 years to an elf.
Yeah.
So something like 10% of your potential life has now, you know, been extended. So, you know, you appear young, you'll age slower. And then I would say just roll a D10 or whatever, or a D8, and that stat, like one down,
honestly,
it goes up by 1.
I would almost say something to the effect of, like, I don't know if I'd make it like a roll table or something like that, but I would be like, a side effect could be you don't have to eat anymore. You don't need to breathe air anymore. You don't need like random,
at least for a time. Definitely for a time
for like maybe the extent of time that the thing gave you in addition to, you know, like
interesting,
like something like that. Like I think
that could be interesting.
Like,
so Marty was saying that
stuff.
The playable characters that we're talking about aren't actually god levels. So the 50 to 100 years is the mortal level. I'm assuming that when you get to god level, that's what we were talking about, where then you get like 1,000 extra.
Sure.
If you're at that kind of, because again, these aren't like gods that can't die. They're just like almost like these are actually reminding me a lot of how the TV show Chaos represented the gods.
Yeah, I remember that.
They're super powerful beings, but they still need to keep themselves energized and
fueled.
Young.
Yeah.
So interesting. I'm getting that vibe, and I wish that show had kept going.
Seriously, man,
such a fucking bummer that show got canceled. I'm
really,
so mad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a lot of things that I would definitely do. If you're not prepared for this, then, because, you know, I have like godlike fruit that you know, mortals can come across,
right?
And it's usually there's a high, you know, there's a small chance on the high roll that something amazing will happen. There's a small chance on the low roll that something extremely bad will happen, and then there's just a generalized chance that it's probably going to be okay. But it is god fruit, so you're probably going to in for a wild ride, like, you know. But yeah, other than that, I think that this age range is actually really good. The problem that I do find, I don't mind this age range at all. The problem that I find, though, with age ranges in the modern sense is that they don't really come with anything. You know what I mean?
Like, they don't necessarily mean anything.
Well, yeah, like for High Point, you know, not necessarily in the most positive of ways, but the older you want your character, the more we can justify you start with. Now, it's not going to mean that just by being older, you get to min-max better. But there are different things I would allow. Like, if you're going to start out at an adventuring age of like 13 to 16, right? If you're going to be like, you know, I ran away from, you know, my town or got burned down or whatever, and I'm just going to be a scrappy little kid. You can be a outstanding wizard. I'm trying to think of the word not outstanding, but like you can be, exemplary. You like
Sure,
you
sure,
can
sure.
be someone that stands out as amazing, but you're not going to have like a degree in notoriety. You're still
Sure, sure.
you just
You can be
couldn't
very
possibly have
skilled. You
done
can
with
know
that.
what you're doing, but at the same time, you're not going to be famous. You're not going to have.
But if you said that you were a retired, you're going to start at 40 or 50 and be a retired, you're still going to be a first level wizard, but you're going to retire from a wizarding school or something because you had, made some great accomplishment or made some great discovery. That character is going to have a lot more chance to say, I'm not necessarily going to give you more powers at level 1, but you will have more resources.
Sure.
You'll have, that
social connections.
Yeah, you may be as powerful as that 13-year-old, apprentice wizard, but they won't be able to talk their way into the music to the academy. They won't know how to get, in front of the dean. They won't have a favor from the mayor because that one time, you figured something out and saved, like those are the kind of things that I feel come with age. Is it's not so much the abilities and the stats that you have, but with age comes with things that you've done. And granted, I'm not, don't let people just pile it on, right?
Sure.
But if you can make it make sense, I always give bonuses to a good backstory and a well thought out backstory. But really, when you think of like, oh, I want to be 500 years, what does that mean? What does it really mean to say you're a 300-year-old elf versus like a 300-year-old elf with a 20-year-old, human adventurer? That quickly becomes nothing. In most modern, like, 5th edition, like that quickly becomes a non-issue. Why those, matter, right? Because realistically, you're still both level 1. You're still both knowing as much as you know about the world, right? Whereas like with High Point, like rolling around with something that's 500 years old is inexperience. Like it's supposed to be a different experience. This thing is supposed to act and think and talk different.
I'll say I would probably use it kind of like you're talking about as for very role. I don't want to just say role play purposes, but like for character defining purposes. So like for me, if I were gonna do something like say, hey, I want to be 800 years old, I would probably be thinking like my first instinct is I'm going to create a very old, very kooky, a very potentially crazy looking old man, right? Who might have been stuck in the abyss for like 500 years of that.
Yeah.
And so like I was like gone and like because of that, like my psyche is broken. I've seen weird things
and those
like
are fun.
Whatever else,
those are things that make perfect sense. If I just want to be 800 years old. Not that I am 800. It's just that I was born 800 years ago and then I was frozen or I went through a time loop.
Those are fine. Captain America.
It's just, definitely it's not the whole thing of, well, I'm going to be 80 years old and then I'm going to have already done all of this stuff. And then I have, I had worked as a blacksmith and then I went to the Mages Academy and then, I did all of this cool stuff. And then I was in the army. With this party.
You're starting at level 20. That's for a level 21 shot.
Exactly. And I did one of my TikTok posts about this recently, which is just, what is level 1? How experienced is level 1? And I feel like that's the problem with age. There's no good mechanic in the book to help guide DMs on how to justify age, because again, when level 1 is better than average but not fully established with backstories, you haven't done anything, you just you've lived a life. When you've lived a life of just 20 years and you've just lived a life of 500 years because you're an elf, it's just a little bit harder to justify that your 500 years boils down to the same as this 20 years, right? And now you're just both, okay, life is normal, right? We're just going to go off on adventure. It's just, it's almost impossible for you to have spent that long.
Dude, I imagine.
Not necessarily not doing anything, but.
Yeah, but see, I love, that to me would be a challenge to the player to explain that. Because like, you got all these, you could have been, imagine somebody who was captured by a lich, and the only reason this lich didn't do anything to you is because you have an extra long lifespan. You'll make a really great servant that I won't have to retrain every 100 years.
Totally fine.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the thing, is you got to go that extra mile to make it make sense, because if you're just throwing around an age and it doesn't really mean anything other than a visual look, to me, that's where 5th edition fails
like,
a lot.
Where did the life you lived go?
Yeah.
Like
why are you
happened?
like this? Yeah. Other than just, well, I just wanted to be an old looking, druid. It's like, come on, let's story should mean something. Story should be very much as a part of the character and what they can do as their class.
Yeah.
So, I love this. This is the stuff that I use, but it's more.
I agree. 5th edition does do a lot with it.
Yeah.
Sure.
But moving on, we have alignment. So most veneers are lawful in nature. However, it is not uncommon to find other kinds of veneer. I think this is what we saw in the Aesir too. That you can find types on both sides. Why is my phone blowing up?
Acting crazy. Rude.
Okay. Just had to make sure it wasn't an emergency because it was like 5 texts all of a sudden. Codex says there's no reason to justify age. Level is when you start adventuring. You can be 500 years without studying magic or fighting monsters. How many people live their whole lives without even leaving their hometown? I don't disagree with you, but if you're not going to justify age in any meaningful way, then again, you're playing a game based on mechanics and not RP. I mean, again, we've gone through this a lot on this series where we talk about how, class is more than just what you can do. Right? Like there's a big difference between the types of personalities that would be in a certain class, right? Like class just isn't the things that you've learned how to do. It's also a representation of the type of person that you are.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like age is very, very similar with that. It's a representation of the life you've lived. I can absolutely be fine with someone never leaving their hometown for 200 years, right? That's not the problem that I'm saying. But just suddenly leaving after 200 years of nothingness is, to me, just not the same as someone who just came of age and who's bored of living in town, right?
It's going to be one of those things, like, if this is really a deep story that you're entering into, and Codex might not be playing games where people are going to actually ask about your backstory and actually investigate into the type of character that you are. But if that ever does come up, if you're ever interacting with somebody and they want to know about your past and where you come from, justifying your age is being able to answer those questions, is being able to say, oh, when I was 200 years old, I was doing X, Y, and Z. I was living this life, and then X, Y, and Z happened, and it brought me here, and then A, B, and C happened, and then you're just basically walking through everything that happened. And the longer you have of a time span in your past that exists, the more you have to put there. The more you have to remember, the more you have to be aware of, the more you have to play with, And so while that can be great, and it can be a great canvas for you to paint something, if you just leave it blank, like,
I mean, it's kind of the same take on whether or not you think something like a Warforged with dragon lineage needs explaining. Some people are just like, it's in the book, so I can do it. I don't play that way. I'm like, okay, how does that make sense? Like, what brought you here? And to me, that's, as a DM, that's just as important, because there is, a big idea of, well, it's you're the DM, it's your job to fit it in. I'm like, so give me the details I need to fit it in, right? I have a huge story, and I don't necessarily agree with the idea that I should modify everything just to fit the, this one, generic
if you
mentality.
Give it to me to fit in, bet money I'm finna fit it in, but
right,
who knows how I'm gonna fit it in? But who knows how okay you're gonna be with the fit?
But it's your character. Why am I responsible for all of this for your character? Like, that's where this aspect of we should both be working on it.
I like to, and with my players' permission, of course, I like to build their backstory into my world and have elements that they don't know about so that they can go and discover them. Like, for you and I'm doing a lot of discovering about Dobbs' father. There's a lot about Dobbs' father I don't know.
Right.
You probably have a whole entire list of things that he's done, people he's interacted with, places that he's been, whatever's going on in his journal. And like, I'm not aware of that. That's elements of Dobbs' backstory that he's not aware of, and he's going to discover. And I'll do the same thing with my characters, Right. So if you have a Warforged that has dragon lineage and he just powered on and he is what he is and he literally doesn't know, then guess what? The part of that character's journey can be to go discover how they got to become what they are. And so that can be something that the DM, if you're giving it to me and saying, you figure it out, I'll be like, okay, I'm finna figure it out, but be okay with what I present to you in the end. What if I say you're an experiment done by some weird dragon and some weird lich, and they have some weird failsafe programmed inside of you that they're planning on trying to activate, and along your journey, you can make a bunch of choices that might activate it and might... I built this whole
how messed up backstory. You do that story, and then at the end, they're sitting there showing that they have controls over you. Like, they literally just can take over your body, and they're
Sure.
like, then they just give you the whole thing of like, they give you control back, and then they're just like, before they let you leave, you're just like, oh, how can you be sure that anything you've ever decided to do is your decision? Like, just leave them with that of, I have full control over you. Just remember that the next time you make decisions. And like, that would be absolutely crazy. Did you get
it? Oh, I did. Rip. But yeah, so I totally hear what you're saying, Codex. And you're right. Like, if you want to just be what you are, just be what you are. Like, there's nothing fully wrong with that. But I really think that being as somebody, like, if you've watched us chat, like, for me, one of the big things is, hey, I want to actually know what my character is about. Because if I'm gonna play this character, if I'm gonna respond to the world around me as this character, as my particular character Dobbs, like, I need to be able to put myself in their shoes, understand the things that they understand the life that they've lived thus far. And so if that's the case, if they've lived 400, 500 years of life and they're out here adventuring now, I, as the player, need to understand what their thought process is, because that's going to affect the choices they make in this world. That's going to affect the things that are important to them in this world. It's going to affect a lot about this particular character and who they are. So it is not a need, because you can play this game however you want to play this game. If you just want to play, just to pull out your stats and hit stuff, then dude, go for it. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But honestly, I enjoy, kind of like Vortex is talking about, I enjoy understanding my character, understanding why I am a part of this world, what it is that I'm exploring. Even when I play video games, it's the first thing I do. I go explore the world. I go test the bounds. I go see what stuff does.
Try to jump off, a ledge. You got to test those ledges, man.
Like, I want to know, did this game have swimming mechanics? Can I go in the water? Is there an invisible wall stopping me from falling off a cliff, or can I just fall off and die? I need to know these things.
You got to know
how careful I got to be.
Yeah, that, especially during a like a crazy fight, you got to know if that's a wall or not.
Exactly.
All right, so moving on. So we have names as well. We saw this as with the Aesir as well. The Vanir, unlike the Aesir counterparts, do not have a naming structure. However, have titles for their victories or roles, such as Freya, Queen of Valkyries. I love this. This is something that I've talked about before that the older editions had. I would love to have in-game titles come back. I use them all the time, and I wish they would make more of a presence, because that it's such a great way to add such an extra level to the game.
Do you think titles should be specific and have a hierarchy, or do you think titles should be unique to the specific situation, or is it kind of a both and?
It's both. I think that there should be, like back in the old days, you at level 10, every class would gain a certain title. Basically, you've adventured long enough that enough people know your name that you can now call yourself with a title. And usually it came with a few bonuses. But I also think that being able to have an established title, something like this, where you have certain victories, and having a system within your game where they are recognized, they are not just you're not just gonna just have, because there are some systems and some like narrative systems, I would say, not necessarily like TTRPG systems, but like narrative systems where people are just like, I did this in the D&D Discord, where names were kind of more common, right?
Sure.
And this seems to be a way to make naming structures easier. Instead of having a first name and a last name, you could be like, oh, this is just Jim the coin counter, and that's Jax the leather cutter. Like, you could just do that, right? Like they have titles,
sure.
But they're not really, like, they're more explanatory than they are meaningful. But that's kind of one of those things where I really appreciate the use of titles, and I think that there should be both something worth saying, like, hey, at certain levels, you as your character have gained enough notoriety to be able to be called this. But I also like this idea of having a process where you can gain titles for what you've done, and those titles have meaning even in certain areas. Like, depending on how big your D&D campaign is, whether it's localized or you could travel.
Sure.
being able to say, you helped these goblins out, so you're the goblin savior. Maybe that's a title that in a certain region or with certain groups you can say, oh well, I'm Dov the goblin savior, and they're like, you're and
the
then they
goblin
would
savior.
know
Yeah.
you, and maybe for good or for bad, right? And then maybe at a certain point you get so far away that stops becoming useful, but then you get a different name over here. And that could just be something that you have to remember is, think about, in history, people had a list of names, and usually you'd say them all, but you could also just say names that would be notarized or notable in certain areas. So those are the things that I prefer to have when it comes to things like titles, is both benchmarked ones that also just come with some accolades, but that's kind of not really available anymore with subclasses. But even just having ones that in game have something, right? Like if you have the noble background and you want to work with your DM, I don't mind it giving you a title or a name that in game actually has weight,
like a count or something to that effect.
Or even just saying like you're a prince, like maybe you're the 5th prince, so therefore you're last in line for any kind of royalty. But technically you have 4 brothers that, if they kick the bucket, you'd be king. You could have something like that, and therefore walk around as prince of this kingdom I'm not in. Like you're not, you don't hold the game in there.
Because theoretically, if that were the case, then any sort of attack on you or threat on your life could be some sort of, depending on who it's from, could be some sort of act of war, or at least you terrorism, or
you could use that as a threat. I mean, granted, you'd have to figure out how to get the note back to your kingdom that they were the ones. But yeah, it's one of those situations where you could have people mock you because they don't know where your kingdom is, or they could mock you because they think it's a small kingdom, or other people just because it sounds good enough, like, oh, you're a prince of a place, maybe they'll just care, and so yeah, there are ways that I like titles, not just for naming purposes and not just for, hey, it sounds cool to say my name all out,
right?
But I do like it when they have structure and meaning to them.
Okay, I'm super here for that.
And then for all of the Vanir, they have a speed of 30. So that's just going to be a baseline for all of them. But we do have 3 different subclasses or sub races for this.
Oh, okay. Yes, indeed we do.
So we have a descendant of Freya, a descendant of Freyr, and a descendant of is it Nord or Jord? I don't know if you pronounce the N or not.
That I am not sure. I am not well versed in my Norse.
So we will look at this one here.
And again, all this art is user submitted.
Gotcha.
So I had to like crop some of it out, but like it's all their art, and they had some really good source pictures. So
nice.
I love it.
All right, well, let's find out what Descendant of Freya has in store. So we have descendants of the Queen of Valkyries are sent to the mortal plane to see the souls that are taken to their afterlife. You are not a direct child of Freya, but part of her lineage. Freya believes that the natural order between life and death must be kept. Ooh, that is... I like that. I love that cloak.
Yeah, and I love those feathers that are kind of just like falling all around her. Almost like Raven Queen vibes, but not exactly.
Right. Let's see. So ability score. Your wisdom score increases by 2 and your constitution by 1. So
love the departure from you just choose whatever you want.
I think because there's enough choices, I think that's solid to do here, because it's not like, well, I should have more choices as a player. It's like you're choosing something very specific from something already, parsed out. So I like that.
And I like that it kind of goes with the balance that we talked about, where you have one of the additions is a mental stat and one of the additions is a physical stat.
Yep.
I feel like that's a really cool balance, especially specifically coming from a racial feature. It would make sense that some of your physicality would come from your race, and some of your mentality would come from your race as well. So
yes,
I love that.
All right, appearance. Most sins of Freya typically have auburn or red and hair and silverish eyes. However, this is only from Freya's side, so you can choose to spawn out if you don't get, if you don't want that. Languages. Your character can speak, read, and write Common, Vanir, and one other language that you and your DM agree is appropriate for your character.
Okay.
I almost like that being I would, as the player, I would use it as an opportunity to choose a race that the larger story of my character, the idea that I'm supposed to be like the Reaper for the afterlife. I would use this as an opportunity to choose the language based off which race my character wants to be the arbiter for.
Oh, okay.
So it's like if I want to go down and be like, I want to help the half-orcs. I want to help the wood elves. I want to help dwarves.
Sure.
Whoever you are, like, I'm here to make sure that these types of people move on. That would be the language that I would maybe like utilize to say, okay, I'm going to use this language to make sure I can get to know them the best. Because that's like the whole vibe, right? Is you're coming here to get to know them so you can understand their culture.
Yeah.
So that's the direction I would take, like, how to work with my character. And then that way you could just like always, if you're gonna have a chance to interact, with different creatures, like, maybe you're talking to an elf shopkeep, but then later you're talking to a dwarf, and because you're keen on dwarves, you maybe ask just a couple more questions. You're just more like, what's life like for you? Like, like
they
just
feel seen.
Like you start to talk to the old ones, like, how do you feel? Like after everything you've seen in all of your years, how do you feel now?
Right.
What is it that you're looking forward to in your small time? Like you're just being weird, that weird guy, but you're just trying your best to understand the life cycle.
Oh, wow. I love it.
Size, normally standing between 5 and 6 feet tall. Your size is medium. Your speed is 30. You have necrotic resistance. Your connection to the afterlife grants you resistance to their attacks. You have resistance to necrotic damage.
Okay.
I like that. Freya's Grace, spare the dying cantrip. It doesn't count towards your known cantrips. At 5th level, you can cast Revivify. At 3rd level, without expending a spell slot. Once you cast a spell, you regain the use after a long rest.
I like the fact that, number one, you still have to pay the material components. Yes, you don't have to use a spell slot. It's a 3rd level spell slot. Cool. You get a free 3rd level spell slot. That's great. But you still have to pay whatever the material components is.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that makes it to where it's not going to be abused, and you can make that difficult to get early levels.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be a caster to have this. So you can go and be a fighter and have this ability.
That's true. That is absolutely true. Yeah. That would be fantastic. Especially Spare the Dying. That's so good.
Yeah.
And then you get Freya's Mercy. You gain the ability to cast the ceremony spell at 1st level without expending a spell slot, but it can only use the funeral rite variant of it. Okay.
Ooh, so you're not sitting there creating holy water for days.
Yeah, but I do like that. That's way better.
So you basically get a ceremony as a cantrip, but specifically for funeral rites.
Yeah.
Let me actually see what that does.
That's actually pretty legit. No notes. Like I don't have any. I mean, for a race, that's pretty good.
Funeral rites. You touch one corpse for the next 7 days. The target can't be undead by any means short of a wish spell. Cool.
So you can prevent someone from becoming necrotic or becoming undead and a zombie. Or
so
anything.
If you're like fighting a necromancer, whenever one of your boys goes down, not you,
exactly.
Not you. Now,
it's still without expending a spell slot.
Problem is, it still takes an hour to cast. So ceremony, the spell, takes an hour. It's not like an action. I can't be like in the middle of combat and just be like, hey, no zombies for you guys. But
that would be kind of dope, though.
That would be kind of dope. But see, that's crazy that. Wait a second. So ceremony is a ritual spell, but even outside of it being a ritual, because being a ritual just adds like 10 minutes on its casting time.
Mm-hmm.
So its casting time standard is an hour. So it'd be an hour and 10 minutes to cast it as a ritual. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right.
Okay. I don't have really any notes from this, though. Like, this one's pretty good. This one's pretty solid.
No, it's super solid. I might decrease the casting time to a minute. So it's not like you're going to do it in combat.
Okay, but I don't mind that.
Just so,
because you only get the access to that one thing.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Especially it's just funeral rites. I'm just saying I don't want a bunch of zombies out here. Or
it's kind of like a quick prayer. It's almost just like that quick little protective prayer.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Or if I'm going to do it, give it like an area of effect. So like any thing within like 30 feet
That
of
would
me.
be way better. An area of effect.
Okay, I do it. It still takes me an hour, but within everything within 30 feet of me now is under the effect of the ceremony.
I like that a little better, just because it would be easier for the player to see the value and use it.
Sure.
I think that's like the biggest thing, is the player needs to be able to see that that's why it's valuable.
Sure.
Okay, so the ceremony was built for more for RP than anything. I don't mind.
It's fair
if you add the AoE, or at least cut the time down. I kind of like that being more as an opportunity for tactical planning, not tactical combat.
There was an element, I don't know if you remember, when I was creating my leaf druid, that I really wanted to include. It was called Green Burial, where basically you could like touch a corpse and it would like decompose, and like flowers and stuff would grow on it or whatever. Like I kind of look at this like that's all I really wanted. It was way more for RP purposes than like tactical, like let's hide the body type deal. Like, yeah, you could use it like the way, but like its purpose was more for, hey, I'm returning like dust to dust type deal. You know what I mean? So I like this idea, especially because this is less more on like the natural cycle side and more on like the religious rites kind of sides. Like, hey, I'm ushering you on into the afterlife and ensuring that your body gets respected and whatever else. So no, that's cool. That's way cool.
All right. So we have the next one, Descendant of Freyr. These descendants, the god of prosperity and journeys, are sent to the mortal realm to find their own way to gain prosperity, be it as heroes or lowly farmers, to learn what they Midgardians have to do to become prosperous. You were not a direct child of Freyr, but one of his lineages. Freyr believes that everyone can be prosperous with enough hard work. All right, so there's boomers. The boomer generation of just, all you got to do is hard work, and you can just make all the money in the world. Just do a little bit more hard work.
Nose to the grindstone there, laddie.
All right, excellent. All right, so we got ability score increase. Your dexterity is increased by 2. Your wisdom or charisma is increased by 1. I like, again, the leaning, but we get a little bit of a choice here.
Sure. Yep. And just still 2 to physical and 1 to mental.
For appearance, they have dark hair, gold and or silver eyes. Again, that can be altered if you don't want to.
Sure.
Languages. Your characters can speak, read, and write Common, Vanir, and Jotun, which is giant.
Okay. Cool. And I was going to say, when I was creating, I really like how, yes, these are unique languages, but you're basically giving the standard 5th edition equivalent of these languages in case you don't want to like add a whole nother section of languages that you don't have already.
I get that we're going like a fighter build. I'm just curious why giant. I guess giants are considered usually like good traders, like merchants. So,
well, I think whatever that word is, Jotun or whatever, like, isn't that Loki? Loki is theoretically a giant.
Oh, that's okay.
So I think that might be like literally giant's blood.
Okay,
that's kind of the lineage that
maybe
they come from.
I'm probably not making that link. Okay, that makes more sense. Oh, and then size, you're between 6 and 7 feet tall, and your size is medium.
So big boy.
Yep. And your speed is 30. Golden luck. Freyr's luck and prosperity flows through your veins. Whenever you fail an ability check, you can choose to re-roll that ability check. You can use this ability a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. You regain all expended uses after a long rest.
It's kind of like the lucky feat you get with halflings, except
it's any fail, not ones. And that's kind of what I was looking at is, should it be any worse or better? But I don't mind it, honestly. Like,
it's a limited number of times. It's not as good as a legendary resistance where you just
only an ability check, so you're not, because I think the luck is any
only ability check,
and luck is only one.
Saving throws.
So if it's just ability checks, I'm totally okay with it.
You know what? I honestly like this because I feel like it's something that would be used consistently, but not like consistently, like you're going to use it like every ability check because you only have a certain number of them. But like it's something that I feel like would be valuable and the player would use like probably every session.
And any level.
Yes.
This is definitely one of those that's going to rock every single time you use it. So
I'm here for that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that one. Fair travels. Your connection to Freyr's grants you the ability to help your travels. You always know which way is north any time of days. You know how many hours till the next sunrise or sunset. You can recall from a map exactly where you are and how long till you get to your next destination. Interesting.
So that's basically a very lightly watered down version of the alert feed.
Okay.
Not the alert, the what's it called? The keen mind feed. Because that one, you always know which way is north. Not necessarily at any time of day, but like period. You could be underground. I think this one you might not be able to be like, because it's associated with at any time of day, it makes me feel like you need to have some sort of association with the sky in order to be able to tell which way is north.
And then the sunrise sunset makes a lot more sense with that way.
Also, you know how many hours till sunrise or sunset. That's basically saying you know what time of day it is at all times.
Yep.
And that's very similar to the keen mind feat. And then what's the last one?
You can recall your exact location on the map.
So slightly different. Keen mind, you can recall anything that was like you've read or heard within the past month. This is cool that it's very specifically tied towards a map. I really like that.
I would make one change. The only change, and this would just be A, for RP purposes, and B, just because of, my attention to detail in terms of like, not historical, because obviously this is fantasy, but
sure.
I would just add verbiage that says for the map part, after an hour of study.
Sure.
So kind of like how we had, the ceremony takes like an hour. I would say that this is a fine ability to say, hey, that's exactly where we are. I do not mind it as an ability, but instantaneous, maps are just not that consistent, and you have to find landmarks. You have to walk around a little bit. But I wouldn't mind saying that after an hour. So it's like kind of something that you
give them a short rest,
or during a short rest, or when you're setting up camp. You've traveled, then you can go, boom, this is where we're camping tonight. Like that feels better than just anytime I look at a map, I basically have a mini map up, right? Like I just feel like as long as you could take an hour to, because again, that means that someone could hand draw you a basic map, and after an hour, you'd be like, okay, well, he said there's a building, he said there's a river. They're really close here, but obviously they're a mile apart. So judging by that, this should be within 5 to 10 miles. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of thing is then it would also just make sense that regardless of the map you have, it's just you being able to pinpoint, okay, this is a landmark, that's the landmark, that's the direction we need to go, and it's going to take us about this long. I just feel like that should take time. And an hour, again, for an RP purpose, this isn't going to be something that you need to check in battle. It's not something that's going to cost you issue if you say it takes an hour.
When it comes to a hand-drawn map, the question becomes, how accurate does the map have to be for you to be able to know exactly where you are?
And that's why I feel like the hour long, and that would be just DM discretion. Like you can't just be like, oh, well, there's a river and here's some, trees, find out where we are. It's like, well, obviously we're right next to the river, right? But like, depending on how big the map is and what information was given, right? If someone just draws you like, here's a mountain, here's a forest, here's the town, that means nothing. You know what direction it is. But if someone's like, hey, there's a stream over here, here's the town you're in, there's a forest, you got to go up this way, and then there'll be a big tree here, and then you got to go this way.
Is there like a special name for like a cartographer's map? Like
a cartographer's map. That's literally
it.
Or a topography map.
Just like a map that's been like professionally or like what do you call it?
And you could just say that. You could just say a professional map. Like you can use this with professional maps. Like and that's why I just feel like
manufactured or something like that. Something that's been like tested or like gone through.
It's usually a cartographer's map. But that's where I fear an hour would be fine with any level of map at that point. Because again, as long as you have the general gist of it, the more detailed the map, the more pinpoint your location will be. But in general, as long as it's roughly giving you the details, I would say that it's fine.
I would say, like, for me, if say I literally just had a bird's eye view and there is a clearing, a huge wooded marsh, and then a set of mountains, and then on the other side of that is where I want to go. If I start off in this clearing and it's like, all right, we're going to go that way. And well, I mean, I guess always knowing where north would help you out on that. But getting to the place where you could be in a situation like this and actually get lost, or like you're going in a maze.
Yeah.
And like Like, I feel like there should be a way for you to still get lost. Like, if you had like a full map of the maze, like, then yeah, you know exactly where the heck you are, how to go, do all that stuff. That's what you want to use this for. But
Right.
like, if you just had like an overall, there's a maze here, and then there's something else on the other side of it. Like, I wouldn't say you know exactly where you are.
And that's
in
where
that
I say
maze.
DM discretion.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
and you know, I totally agree with that. Like there would be situations where you can't just be like, oh, I know where I am simply because I have a map.
Sure.
But that's where I feel like if you give them an hour to say like you have time, that's basically like, you know, if you're in a maze, it's like, well, you're not gonna have you're gonna spend an hour walking around a maze that you can't see landmarks on. But that's the whole point. If you can spend an hour to see landmarks, then I would be totally fine with you giving a pinpoint spot.
Sure.
So that would be like where I would draw the line.
Okay.
We did like Golden Luck. We both thought that because it stops at ability checks and has a limitation of proficiency points, it's just fine. No notes.
Yeah. No, I do like that.
Yeah. Kage originally thought that it did saving throws, but yeah, with just ability checks, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's super chill. I feel like it'd be super useful. I feel like people would love getting to use that ability as they go throughout whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah. Then yeah, Fair Travels, we really like it. North is great. Sunrise Sunset is great, and I just think for RP as well as for the purposes of type of map, I would just add verbiage that, you know, I would like an hour. After an hour, you can pinpoint yourself, and of course, you can even add extra verbiage of, you know, depending upon landmarks or detail of map. Like you could just say basically it's going to take you an hour, and based on what landmarks you have and detail of map will tell you exactly how pinpoint your spot is.
Right.
Which is, again, you know, basically just like how normal military land nav works. You can get down to a 10-mile radius, a 10-foot radius, or, you know, like depending on how much detail you know, you can get closer and closer to your actual location.
Sure.
Based off of math. But that's where I think that's why you would need the hour. Because if you're in an open field and you have no landmarks, you got to walk around to figure out, okay, north, you got to, like, you know, get your angles right to be like, okay, well, if that's north, and then I walk over here and that's north. And then I can kind of see that, and that doesn't as far as that thing over there. Okay, well, we should be here. If on this map I can see that item and that tree and that, you know, mountain, then we must be here based on my walking in a circle for an hour.
Sure.
That's the way that I imagine it.
Okay. Yeah. I feel that.
And again, I don't think that when you're doing this, it's not like you're gonna do it in combat, and there's not gonna be a situation that you're RPing that this needs to happen, and people, like, unless you want it to be part of like a stressful, you need to find your way out in time, spending an hour isn't gonna hurt the game. To say you spend an hour, here's where you are on the map. Unless you're running you only have 10 hours, it's gonna take you 8 hours to get there, so you can only check the map twice.
And to be honest, if that's the moment you're working on, it's a good challenge to have. It's a good challenge. Like, it should be a scenario where it's like, hey, it's gonna take me an hour to do this. Is it worth us taking an hour of our 10 hours so that we will never get lost on our way there?
Exactly, right? And that's where I feel like, unless you fabricate it, no one's gonna bother saying, hey, let's, and what if you're like, you are getting lost, you're like, I don't know if we know where we are, but like, hey guys, let me take an hour, you all take a short rest. Who's gonna say no to that? Like, there's so many ways that this could,
especially if you guys been running through battle all day.
Yeah. All right, so moving on to the final one, animal kinship. Friar's connection to animals flows within you. You gain proficiency with animal handling. Totally fine.
Cool.
Oh yeah, because you would choose this technically before anything else. So you don't need to add the verbiage if you already have it, because you technically shouldn't. You were technically the race before you were the class.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I don't mind the animal handling at all.
I'll just say this. I might, just because I feel like the one before this overall had a little bit more, I might do something, especially going along the animal kinship side of things. Yes, give them animal handling, but also maybe let them, I
like speak with animals once per day?
Speak with animal either once per day or even as a cantrip, because it's not really that crazy of a thing. Just being able to talk with animals, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think once per day would be a good place to start. You know?
Or where is it? Wisdom modifier times per day.
Okay.
That would be because it has wisdom. You could just say, and you can cast speak with animals as a cantrip equal, a number of times per day equal to your wisdom modifier.
I do think it fits better with wisdom modifier, but I would say give them the choice. If you chose wisdom, it'd be wisdom. If you chose charisma, it'd be charisma.
Oh, I think it should always be wisdom, because then this matters a little bit more. Do you want more options to speak with animals, or do you want more charisma with humans?
Sure.
So that even more so
okay, that's fair.
Adds to what type are you? If you went charisma, you're probably not going to speak with animals that often, but if you really, really want to speak with animals, you're going to need a higher wisdom. And that's just exactly how you want to build a character. You want to build a character based on what feature you want, but we've talked about this before. Too many subclasses, again, this is a race, but too many subclasses kind of shoehorn you into a very effective build. Like, oh, I'm choosing this subclass, I need dex. I don't care, I need dexterity. Something like this gives you that wiggle room to be like, maybe I want more charisma. It'll be nice to have animal handling, but I don't need it that often. Whereas if you need it more often,
I will say, just me as a DM, I have been gently playing around with the idea, specifically in 5th edition, of flexible main stats. Meaning, if you want to be a barbarian, generally speaking, you're a strength build. But what if your manifestation of a barbarian and their rage looks different? Maybe you want to be a dex-based barbarian instead of a strength-based barbarian.
Gotcha.
Maybe you want to be a constitution-based barbarian instead of... And so, maybe, there can be ways for you to have your main stat be something other than it normally would. Maybe you want to be a wisdom-based sorcerer instead of charisma-based sorcerer, right?
Gotcha.
Maybe it's more about your attunement with the world around you that you're able to manifest and conjure your magic than it is your... I
like that idea.
I feel like there should be, at least in some certain circumstances, a little bit of play. So
yeah, strength-based monk, like a boxer. Perfect.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like options like this really, again, go calls back to the way that I like to do character building, which is as you go, not from the ground up, not from the top down. This also kind of speaks to another idea that I would love to talk about someday. Maybe this will be Friday's actual bring back of D&D discussions. I would love to talk about class skill crossovers. Like you were talking about a monk having dexterity, right? And being able to do crazy, just like maybe he gets more movement and does more things, more like I forget his name. I was thinking of the Street Fighter dude, but there's instead of just being just a brute that smashes as hard as he can, he's much more about precision, right?
Sure.
So I liked that, but then I'm thinking, what's another missed opportunity, which would just be so much work to do. But what if all of the staples that came with the main class could have an alternative if you multi-classed? Like, what does rage look like if you multi-classed as a rogue? What does backstab look like if it came from a barbarian, right? And that's kind of, what I'm looking at is, like, I could see backstab when you multi-class in barbarian. When you successfully backstab, maybe on a crit, you have a chance to paralyze him. Because like a barbarian, you got rageful and you just like smash through a, like a spinal cord or something. So like if you rage and then if you're so in that particular case, it wouldn't be so much like a barbarian backstab, but if you were able to sneak attack or backstab, I guess it's sneak attack. If you sneak attack while raging, you get the chance to paralyze them.
Interesting.
Right? Like those are the kind of combos I'm talking about, where take one of their, like take two classes, find out what is it that they're like known for, and then how do you take a multi-class and what happens when those two things collide?
Sure.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't really be able to do like what happens when you spell cast when you're raging, because you can't cast spells while you're raging, but it would be just very interesting to think of, what does flurry of blows look like with backstab?
So,
or with sneak attack? Like, could you combo any of these things?
Thinking about casting spells while you're raging, I get it, but at the same time, I'm thinking, what if you were multi-classing specifically a barbarian and a sorcerer, right? And the sorcerer's magic is tied to their emotions, right? I could see an excuse for a barbarian being able to rage spells out, like especially if you started off like a sorcerer and like
I also
multi-classed into barbarian.
Personally, I also like the idea of something akin to every set amount of levels, like every 5 levels, the barbarian spellcaster gets a permanent spell, like one spell on your list. Has to be like a spell that you've cast before or something like that. But imagine, just because you're, the idea of raging is that you're so mad you couldn't even think of a spell.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine you get to a point to where you know a spell so well it's the only thing you could cast while raging. So imagine you go rage and all you get is fireball. You're like, I'm done with it. Fireball, and that's all you get. So you can just use all your spell slots on this one spell because you're just fueled with this. Like, all you can think of is this one thing. It's all you can pull from. So like at level 10, you'd have 2 options. Like while raging, you can cast either of these. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah,
but it would just be something like that where you could overcome it, but you only get like one spell to do it.
Okay. No, I'm here for something like that too.
Man, a barbarian warlock, like the rage is fueled by your patron. Like you became, and see, these are what's missed with being able to like subclass so late, like because you start at 3rd level. Like this is where missing being able to subclass early. Like imagine you start out as like a level 2 warlock barbarian, but you made it to where it's like you made the warlock pact to become a barbarian. Like your rage, so you are a warlock, but your pact made you a barbarian. So if you ever broke your pact, you could actually lose like the rage.
Oh,
so you're a warlock with rage because your warlock gave you the ability to like berserk mode. Like there's so many more things.
I really like these ideas of being able to like mesh and meld a lot of these things together. Now that's very cool.
All right, so let's look at our last one so we can get Marty a score here. Descendant of Nord. Descendants of Nord, god of the seas, are sent to the mortal plane to travel the seas which Nord rules. They aren't meant to look over the Midgardians, as they are unimportant to Nord, but to look at the seas and the creatures within it. You are not a direct child of Nord, but of his lineage. They believe that Midgardians must respect the seas, for they grant many boons. That is a dope picture.
Right? I don't know where they found that picture, but that was cool.
I almost would change the verbiage here because, again, thinking from the point of view of a player reading through these and trying to figure out, this one seems like the least exciting. Like you want nothing to do with anybody. You're just here to look at, basically you're an aquarium goer. Like you just want to just
hang on my fish, man.
You know what I mean? Like something along the lines of like keeping, peace at, like the seas should be peaceful. They should be respected. Maybe they're guardians of fishermen and, they go against poachers. They protect tradeways. Like if I'm a DM or if I'm a player and my DM says, hey, we're going to do a pirate campaign or we're going to do a sea-based campaign, and you read through this,
sure,
it doesn't immediately strike me as, oh man, this guy wants to get into the action.
Sure.
But if it said something along the lines of, it's here to make sure that, fishermen are protected, from going, like maybe you protect fishermen from the monsters of the deep. You make sure that, poachers aren't going after like whales and dolphins and they're going after only like tuna. You protect the trade routes. You protect docks and port cities from pirates and stuff. Like it would just make me immediately more like, oh, I want to play this on a pirate or on this like, new sea campaign.
Sure.
But reading this, I'm just like, am I even going to get to do anything other than be like fish? And again, that's just more of this still fits with everything that we've read so far. That's not a knock against what we've read, sure, but just that knee-jerk reaction of if I knew I was playing like a pirate campaign, this would not immediately catch my eye as, oh, this guy's
let me
ready
check this
for
out.
it. Yeah. So yeah, it depends on which way you want to go with it. But I definitely feel like there might be a little bit more, just one sentence that just protects the waterways, protects traders, protects merchants, protects fishermen. Something to just let you know you're not just here to look, but you're also kind of like the overseer, the commander. You own the seas. Sure. And you're here as a representative of the god of the sea, right? Like, chill, everybody.
Yeah.
We're the owners. Like you're the bodyguards of the sea. Like that's what I feel like it should be a little bit more of, as the bodyguards of the sea would be kind of nice. But I do love this image. Meant to look over, aka protect the seas. Yeah, exactly. So maybe that was a little bit too literal translation on my part. But let's see what we can do. So ability score increases. Your strength score increases by 2 and your constitution by 1. That does make sense for seafarers. You're strong and you're a little bit more hardy, so you can take those sea legs.
Sure.
Parents, most ascendants have deep, inky black hair, silver green eyes. However, this is only from one side, so it can be changed. Languages your characters can speak, read, and write Common, Vanir, and Aquan, or Primordial. I like that. Size, you stand between 6 and 7 feet tall, but your size is medium. Your movement speed is 30. I'm assuming that's a swim speed. I mean, if this didn't give you a swim speed, I'm actually kind of upset. I would 100% make sure that speed is you gain a movement or a swim speed of at least 30 or 20. If this is
intended to have a swim speed, I would definitely articulate that, because right now the way I read this, it doesn't.
Yeah, and I want this needs to have a swim speed, like 100%.
It is for speed. Everything you're telling me is you're a seafaring. You gotta be able to like be at home in your natural habitat. Yeah. You got to be able to move smoothly.
I mean, I wouldn't even mind to like help, to balance that out. Even having this one go up to like 35, like maybe you can give him a little bit faster.
Sure.
And if we really wanted to, we could even say that for Freya, even part of like Freya's grace or Freya's mercy, maybe like once per day or once per a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, or even just once per day, you can cast Featherfall.
Oh, interesting.
Because then that would go along with what we're talking about over here, being able to swim. So it's like she could have Featherfall, like the Descendants of Freya could have Featherfall, they could have a speed of 35, and then they could have a swim speed. And then each one would feel a little bit more in line with the build. And they'd all get something equal.
So the 3rd level spell you get with the First Lady.
Oh yeah, they did give you a 3rd level spell.
What did you get with her?
Yeah, Ceremony and Revivify.
Revivify, that was a 3rd level spell. Imagine with them, you got Water Walk. I think that would be cool, especially if you working with like a party of people, being able to like traverse across the seas at the behest of
that would be interesting.
It's like let me guide you across these oceans or whatever. Begin to do that like maybe once a day or something like that without expending a spell slot would be kind of cool.
Yeah. We got Dark Vision, accustomed to the oceans of the deepest depths. You have superior dark vision, and in dim conditions, you can see dim light within 60 feet of you if it were bright light, darkness if it were dim light. You can't discern colors in darkness or only shades of gray. Love that.
So I will ask for clarification, because traditionally superior dark vision is 120 feet of dark vision, and regular dark vision is just 60. So if this is superior dark vision, then
what I would personally what I would do if the idea was superior, give them superior dark vision in water and only the regular dark vision out of water.
Okay.
Make it more advantageous.
I like that.
Underwater.
Yes. You have dark vision, but it only works as effectively underwater.
Marty says that this was the superior rules in 5th edition. Maybe if 24?
Ooh.
Or 4E or 14?
Hold on.
I wonder if there's a difference there. But yeah, that's one thing that I might do is make it just better in water and worse out of water.
No, I'm very much a fan of that.
Oh yeah, superior. Oh no. Marty says superior dark vision is 120.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm fairly confident.
So regular dark vision is just 60.
Yeah, regular dark vision is 60, and the superior dark vision is 120.
Okay, so maybe I don't think that would be a problem for a race to have that, where
not at all.
You have superior in water. The writing of dark vision says superior vision. Oh, superior vision, not superior dark vision. This is superior vision in dark.
It's the verbiage we got wrong. Got you.
Okay. So in that particular, but it brings up a good point. It brings up a good conversation. I think superior dark vision while in water, regular dark vision out of water, I think would be fun.
Yeah, so like if you're in a cave or something like that,
you get regular dark vision. But if you're in the water for some reason and you keep going down deep, that's fine. I mean, I also wouldn't even mind. We haven't gotten to the other ones yet, but I'm kind of also hoping you can get to breathe underwater with this one.
Oh, that would be cool. That would be cool. But, is there a spell for that? I feel like there should be like a low level.
Oh yeah, give them a spell for that too.
Because it's
let's see. So we have Lord of the Seas. Your connection to Njord grants you boons for treading the water. You gain the ability to breathe underwater. You gain a swim speed equal to your movement speed. Okay, that's done.
Both issues
solved.
What was that called? Lord of the Seas.
Lord of the Seas. I like that one. That one can also have you get the water walk spell too. You could add the water walk spell there as part of the Lord of the Seas. You can
once you because I would say you're not getting 3rd level spells until you're at least 5th level.
Okay, that's fair.
So
that's fair.
and I think that's what they said with the original, the other one.
At 5th level, yep. So you could just do that.
So yeah, same thing.
Surveyor of Icy Depths, you plunge into the deepest abyss and feel right as if on the surface. You gain resistance to cold damage. That's cool.
Sweet.
And then that also adds into superior dark vision while underwater.
Yeah.
So I feel like that would make this character, again, with the advantageousness of water, it just really pushes you into that understanding of this is where you're meant to be.
Sure.
And Riptide, beginning at 3rd level, when a creature deals damage to you, you can use your reaction to summon more of your Vanir power as a violent Riptide around you. The creature must make a dexterity saving throw or take 2d8 cold damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. This ability damage increases by 1d8 when you reach 5th level, 11th, and 16th. Once you use this ability, you cannot use it again against a long rest. My only thing about this, now part of me wants to say because it's a race and not like part of a bigger class, and we always like to like consider low levels, I would say while in water. Like I would also add this is only in water. But if that's the case, I also want this to push them back 5 or 10 feet. I like this idea of I want this to be more of like a shockwave in the water where it's gonna like hit them, do damage.
Kind of like what's it, Thunder Wave, but in water?
Yeah, well, and this one even says Riptide, and that's usually like the undertow, like it's gonna drag you. So like this idea of you're controlling the water, you're almost surrounded, and you can do this to use your reaction, and then just
I like that so much better than pushing them back. I like it sucking them straight down.
Oh, just down. I
like
5
it sucking them straight down. And I would even say 10 feet because they move at half speed.
That's
Everybody
true.
else moves at half speed.
So moving them 10 feet down, that could also be for creatures that can't breathe underwater. You could drown them easier. Being 10 feet, then you could move because and then it wouldn't provoke opportunity attack. I think that would be better. If it's truly a Riptide, pull them downward if possible. Just like with anything else, if there's a wall in the way, you can't. But if possible, they also move vertically downward 10 feet into the water. That would be amazing.
I think that's super cool.
Oh, so this is basically Hellish Rebuke from Tieflings.
Oh, interesting.
But they were just trying to figure out ways to make it a little better. I like it. I think the idea of not only doing extra damage, but this idea of just being able to, pull them down, because it's just anybody, right? It's anytime they do damage to you. So just being able to be like, you drowned. That just sounds kind of dope. I don't think that, and again, if we guarantee that this only could happen in water, then it would make more sense. But if that piece only happens in water, if it's still like Hellish Rebuke where it can always happen, but when in water, they also get sucked 10 feet, you know what I mean? I wouldn't mind it because that's still very situational. And most DMs don't do a lot of water combat.
And this is kind of like you normally say, I'm trying to visualize what's actually going to happen. So if this is going to happen outside of water, am I going to conjure water around you out of nowhere?
That's kind of what it sounds like, which is why I wanted to lean, especially for a race, to always be in water, because then at least it always makes sense.
And this is why I like it being in water better. But specifically for that, I feel like because of that, it makes a lot more sense to be than rather just any type of damage. It's when somebody deals damage with a melee attack.
Because it's right next to you.
Like, you got to be adjacent to me for this to happen. Like, when you come up to me and you
hit
me with something, then because otherwise I'm controlling water that's potentially 30 feet away from you, right?
And you're not really, you're not your dad. So
I feel like that's harder to say specifically as a racial feature. Like, if I'm a magical being, sure, and I know that these creatures have magic in them, but being innately in tune with magic and being a magical being are slightly different things. And so, I understand the original ones, they're literally getting spells. And so, like, that's saying you're innately in tune with magic. And this is a magic spell that you're using. You have Revivify, you have Spare the Dying, you have these magical abilities.
Yeah.
Thus far, what we've been given is very natural things that are occurring, and they're not necessarily saying I'm in tune with the ability to use magic. And so, with that being the case, this makes me feel like it would be more of a natural phenomenon. Maybe I have the ability to I don't know, like gather the water around me. Yeah, there's going to be some magical essence, but it's going to be more of a physical thing rather than a more telekinetic, you know?
Yeah.
So
I feel that. I agree, but again, that would be the only thing that I would do is just add that little extra bit of making it be in water. Because again, it's really just a better balance to make sure that this doesn't feel too bad at first level or at early
Sure.
levels. But as it scales, that's always going to be valuable.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Especially because you obviously are choosing this to be in a water-based campaign, and always having the ability to like move characters like that without provoking opportunity attack just makes this character just sound so much better. And then you add things like being a rogue, or a monk, getting extra
Yeah.
movements in the water, because this is equal to your land speed. So you become a monk and you are basically just a submarine zipping around, taking people out, drowning them. This could be so great with so many different builds. No, that was fantastic. Like I said, like that would be the only one I would really change. Like the other ones were
Truly.
pretty good, but that was really good.
it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to check out.
I mean, I know that there were 3, but it's all kind of one giant thing. So we'll kind of, we'll review them all as one. I really like it. I think that this has a lot of potential in almost any campaign. It gives DMs a lot of opportunities to implement it in their own campaign, but it also gives players a lot of thinking to do with not only with their RP build, but exactly giving them more options than just, hey, this is going to give you flying, move on.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is really speaking to adding much more opportunities to the class that you choose. And that's, I think, what we always want to see with races. Let's see here. So there are a couple things that I would change. It is going to get the inspiration point. I do also have things that are very similar to this. So this does help me figure out ideas, though, for more, not demigods, but demi races. Basically races of demigods, right? Like if Hercules had kids, again, you're not descendant. You're descendants.
You're like 3 times removed from the gods.
Yeah. You're the kids of their kids that had kids with other kids. It was just this thing of just like
just the more mortal dilution of the god blood.
But this does give me much more ideas of how to do that, of how to spread the power dynamic through the bloodline.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to give it an 8. It is really, really good. There are a few things. It's really just there's just a few things that I would have to change and meld together. But yeah, it is. There's a lot here that is desirable. I think as a player, I would be drawn to these. Out of the 3, honestly, I'd probably choose Descendant of Freya. I think
the first one
out of the 3, that's my favorite.
Yeah. I think I would have chosen the second one out of the 3. I really like the water one, but again,
it's so situational. It's just,
but like that's if that's what you're doing in the campaign. Like if I was doing a water campaign, I'm gonna go with that, like for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But more versatility. I love I would totally build a ranger with that second one. Like even a Beastmaster Ranger, like get really in tune with
that would be perfect. I mean, that's obviously companion. Built for a ranger.
Dude, like that would be so cool. Just running around. I know where everything is. I don't know. It would be fire. It would be fire.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Marty, for sending that in. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Kage will get that posted and we'll get your average here. And then we can let everybody know what next week's potential, well, most likely 100th community review next fucking Monday. Holy shit.
right?
I cannot believe we're at the 100th review.
Dude, it's gonna be wild.
The 100th submitted review.
Wild.
I wonder who it's going to be. I know who wants it to be them, but probably, I don't know if it will be. I think everybody wants it to be them, but I know someone very particular who would probably think that they deserve it.
Wild. Amazing. Amazing.
Hey, buddy. Is it food time? Are you
food time?
This little man thinks it's food time. Hi.
There it is. Where the heck?
Hi. You want to show yourself off?
Good kitty. Good kitty.
You want to show off your beautiful yellow eyes to anybody? No. You want to be difficult? No. Yeah, let me go. Let me go.
Let me go. Give me food. Let me go. Give me food.
Goodbye. That's all they want. Food. Ooh, and we're gonna get more from Marty in the series of races. So,
ooh, very nice, very nice,
awesome. We'll keep them coming. We will keep reviewing.
I absolutely love it.
All right, we got a average for Marty.
Yes, average. His new average, which might be the same as last time, is an 8.
Nice. There we go.
An 8.
Is that the highest right now? Is Marty leading the way?
That's a good question.
Is Marty leading the way with averages right now?
I do have a list. Let me open it up and see if I can see our full average list. Where's my reference tables?
Hi, buddy. I know.
User average. So we have a couple 8s.
Ooh.
But
join the echelon of 8s.
I'm not gonna lie. I think Marty is the highest 8 because I always round. I don't do the decimal percentage for that.
But you can look at the decimal.
I can see the decimal percentage, and I think Marty's average is a little bit high. Now, to be fair, the other person that has an 8 has a lot more submissions than them.
That is fair. So, I mean, that's why it's a struggle, right? It's a struggle to the race to the top. So
in fact,
is there anybody over 8?
As many submissions as them.
There's nobody over 8, right?
Nobody's
the
over
highest
8.
Average. So who are our 8s? Who are our highest average submitters right now?
It is Marty and Pokenizer.
The top 2?
Top 2.
Top 2 are Marty and Pokenizer. And Pokenizer has given us so much over the last year.
With 13 submissions reviewed. And Marty with 6 submissions reviewed.
That's insane. That's absolute insanity.
Yep.
And so
I'm not gonna lie, with that many submissions, having such a high average is impressive.
That is super impressive. I mean, Pokenizer does good work.
Just one going down, like one of them being like a 5 or one that'll chunk your average.
That is
you know
true.
What I'm saying?
I think Pokenizer has gotten a couple bad ones too. I don't think Pokenizer. I think they've gotten under a 6 before.
I can look.
I'm pretty sure they've gotten under a 6 before. That's insane, though. That's cool, though. I mean, wow. So that was review number 99 from the community. We will have review 100 next Monday. That'll be super fascinating. We'll definitely have to promote that in the Discord a little bit more.
For sure.
That it'll be 100, especially making sure that we tag whoever it is that gets it.
Their Pokenizer's lowest score is a 7.
Oh wow! So Pokenizer has been just slamming it there. Then
yeah, they've never got a 10, but they've never got below a 7.
How many 10? I think we only have a handful of 10s out there.
We don't have a lot of 10s.
I think we have 2 or 3. I want to say we have 2 or 3 max. Oh, what? And Marty wants to know their highest score.
Marty, let's look.
We are working on getting a web app developed so we can actually put this on our website fully organizable and searchable and filterable. So
yes,
eventually this will be up there for everyone to be able to see.
Yep. Marty
wants to know their highest and lowest.
8 and 9.
Wow.
8 and 9.
There you go, Marty. Jeez.
I think it's half and half. No. You got 2 9s and 4 8s.
So either y'all's submissions have increased in quality to that point,
God bless
or
America,
we
y'all.
become more generous and we need to be assholes a little bit more. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's us or.
Nah, dude, like we are just been getting straight bangers. Like I love what we have. Like again, our community average is a 7.
That is, yeah, that's pretty wild.
Out of everything we reviewed so far from the community, the average is a 7.
The community's really stepped up the game. Like,
and that's
like,
with one person not getting a rating yet. Because theoretically, the Pinnacle by Cosmic is still unrated.
It's because it was not finished.
Yes.
That's right.
It's still theoretically unrated. So Cosmic, if you're out there, give me your finished copy of the Pinnacle so we can get a rating on that sucker. But
Soul, do you want to know your numbers real quick? You are getting so good. Like you have definitely shown a lot of progress. But that's also I say that in the terms of you've shown a lot of progress in the quality, but I won't say that, that doesn't mean your rating has gone up, because obviously what I can use versus what we recognize as the quality of your writing and your work obviously are different, right?
Yes. And because again, every rating we're looking at has nothing to do with how good your stuff is, because there's been so many things that we've liked a freaking lot, but we've had to rate low specifically because of High Point and how High Point works.
Yeah,
and how High
it's
Point
a compatibility score. It's not a rating of goodness.
And so it's just saying that the ways that Pokeniner and Marty build their things mesh well with how Vortex created High Point. Yes. That just happens to be very honest, I don't think a lot of my stuff would get high ratings here because it wouldn't really fit in High Point necessarily, because a lot of the stuff that I create and I build, it's kind of chaotic.
Like conceptually, you'd probably be getting a lot of 4s to 6s, but there would be a lot of those knockoff points for I wouldn't be able to do it that way. I'd explain it differently. That's not how High Point works. And that's more or less like, a lot. I mean, that's 90% of the times that people don't get a 9 or a 10 is like the top 2 reasons not to get a 9 or a 10 are it's something I can't use. Like I wouldn't take the IP because it's too specific. Mm-hmm. Or I need to change too many things. Like I would need to actually modify how it's as written, because the third most common reason is I already have something for it.
Sure. Yeah.
But I would say that's probably the second most common reason. The third most common reason is what I have to change. But those are like the top 3 reasons why I've not gotten more, like people haven't gotten more 9s and 10s. It's either I absolutely love that, but I can't use it because it's too yours, so it's a 9. And that's really the difference. If you get a 9, I probably wanted to give it a 10. It was probably just I'm not allowed to use it. So it's kind of funny that a 9 is almost like it's just out of reach.
It's just a non-10.
Yeah, 9 is non-10.
Wow.
But Soul did say that they were curious. So what are Soul's top and bottom scores and with their average?
So it's kind of crazy. Their average is I have to make sure I only include the ones that have been.
Oh yeah, don't include the zeros.
Your average is a 6. Your highest is an 8. And your lowest is a 5.
Okay, but that's where those situations where there's probably more 6 pluses.
Because I think a lot of where Soul in the past has gotten their inspiration from has been other IPs. Because we have stuff like the Sui Genesis, the Sightless, the Bracklash, I think their highest rated one was something that was fully unique. It was the Sentience race.
Yes.
That one was phenomenal. And so I think a lot of the stuff that comes directly from Soul's mind to paper, those things usually get rated really high. A lot of the stuff that they're trying to adapt into D&D, those things. And again, you probably do a really good job of sticking to the source material, but it just makes it hard for someone like Vortex to fit it into their IP.
I like that. That actually makes a lot of sense if it is that dichotomy of the custom built stuff is what we like more.
Sure.
And it's just being tanked a little bit by the adaptations, which is like I would prefer that. I would prefer it look that way than the other way. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah,
I would much prefer that the numbers show that we like the uniqueness, not the adaptation. So yeah. But that's phenomenal. So yeah, we're hoping to get more and more of Soul stuff in there.
Yep.
I love also building around mythology. There's so much in High Point that's steeped in mythology, and
It's very
various.
cool.
That's why I like having, the multifaceted and diversity of having just like an omnipresence of different gods in different places for different reasons. The idea that, one thing that I also really like in High Point that you don't get to see is that there's also the opportunity for like a multifaceted religion. Like in most of the times that you see in TTRPGs, when you get a multitude of gods, you still are only monotheistic, right? You have a multitude of gods to choose from, but you still choose one, right? You
Okay.
basically have to like kind of like a class. So you have all these classes to choose from, but you still have to choose which one you are. Whereas in High Point, that's just not a thing. Like the idea is much more akin to how you see it, in more polytheistic, religions where you will have a god of a certain thing that you pray to when you need that certain thing, but that is not your
you pray to
everyday.
the harvest during the harvest time, but you
Right.
pray to whoever else during growth time or during rain season.
Exactly.
Like that.
You're going to want to pray to the hunter god when the crops, it's in wintertime because you want the hunters to go out. So the idea that you have usually a collection of gods you believe in, then you have a smaller collection of gods you are a follower of. Like you follow the teachings of some gods, but then there's like the ones you give your money to, you give your time to, and then there's ones that you can become, part of even more so, right? And that's what I like to represent in High Point, not just because again it's a higher, it's a power scaling kind of game, and it is a high powered fantasy, but it's not just about giving you more stuff from all of the different gods and just being able to collect them. It also drastically increases the RP options, it increases the campaign options, and it just changes the way that you look at the game, right?
Yeah.
Most of my players usually start out godless. They usually start out as, fucking heathens.
Damn
But-
heathens.
But usually it's part of their backstory for one reason or another. And actually, one thing I truly appreciate about most of my players is it just so happens that most of them start out that way, usually for the same reason. They know God. They all play the same reason. Well, my character knows God exists. Like they know that this isn't like a,
They know of
oh,
gods.
it's not just there are some people who are religious. Like it's very common that gods are normal. But more often than not, my players start with this instead of, oh, I'm going to look through all the gods and choose which one and give all this. A lot of them start with that mentality of, well, if I've never had a direct, relationship with one, and, I didn't get one from like my backstory, I'll just start out as an unfollower,
Sure.
but a believer. I think I've only had one player who ever actually went into it wanting to be a non-believer. Like actually was like, I want my character to not believe in the gods.
I disagree that gods are even a thing.
Yeah. And at that
Okay.
point, they played their whole mentality of, well, how do you explain all this? Like can that guy, he just casted magic to light that fire. You know that mage that came through here and burned the whole town down with one spell? That's how I explain it. There's just a more powerful thing beyond him. And beyond that, there's another more powerful thing. But in their mind, the concept of like gods and following and religion, all of that, they're just like, you're just following something that could kill you. Like that was kind of their whole thing of all you're doing is just.
I could say Joe over there, who's got a big magic stick, he could say he's God just because he's more powerful than me. I could say that dragon's a god just because he's more powerful. I can say anything's a god just because it's more powerful.
And that's
than
exactly
me.
what they did is they went through the game, even when they were up against either religious folk or even entities of gods. They were just like, yeah, that isn't, nah. You know what I mean? Like oblivious to how the inner workings actually work, but that was the direction they wanted to play it. And that's kind of what I dig is I don't necessarily want players, unless you're going to start out as a cleric or a paladin and kind of need a focus. I don't really care if you're, interested in the religious aspects of High Point, because while they will benefit you in a lot of ways,
And you'll run into them.
yes. But my biggest thing is one thing that I try to do, and this is kind of like a good, like, maybe I should make a TikTok of this. This is a good option for DMs that are creating their own world, is when you make something that has benefits. Like when you're a follower, you actually, like when you're a good follower, not just like, oh, I just want to follow this god and just have their holy symbol on me. But like when you want to get to the point to where the god, or at least the religion, notices you, like you become part of it and actually can benefit, right? You will be able to go to places like the local temple and get healing potions for free, or stay the night for free, or get a free meal. you go up even higher in the ranks, whether you're a cleric, paladin, or you just do things, you might start getting special favors. Maybe you eventually get to talk to God, right? You actually get, like, I mean, Dobbs has experienced that kind of concept of you got his attention in a way that, I mean, he has thousands of people who go to the temple, but you stood out for various reasons, right? And that relationship has got, expanded. But sometimes you get other boons, like sometimes gods will give, certain dedicated followers just bonuses. Just you get this bonus as long as you're one of me. And if you're not one of me, you don't get it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But one thing that I've learned is you can't just do that, because not only do you want to prevent the min-maxers, but you also don't want to put people in a situation where it was obvious I made the quote unquote wrong decision. And I think that's one of the biggest highlights of how I DM High Point, or one of the many highlights, is that I try to make the game an experience that everybody will not get. No one will ever get the same exact experience, but everyone will have the same level of experience. So I never want it to be where, oh, you didn't choose to be religious. Well, you're just basically shut off from all of these cool features and abilities and skills and RP moments. In my what I was trying to say about being a DM is you can always have those in there as long as you recognize that there should always be an alternative, right?
Sure.
So you can join a religion and get a whole bunch of boons and bonuses. But if you don't do that, well, what are your other options, right? You can't just be like, well, you just don't get those then. Because you don't want that kind of like imbalance.
Yeah.
So there are other options, like go join a guild, right? Which we were talking about earlier about titles. Joining a guild gets you things like titles. And the same kind of concepts, boons and benefits would develop there. There's always a way to, I wouldn't say that everything has an equal, but there's always a way for different people to accomplish the same thing. Whether you're a paladin with a high devotion to a god and a personal connection to a god, or you're a rogue who's, second in line to running the thieving guild, or you're a fighter who has saved so many kingdoms that you basically have armies at your command, right? These are all ways to basically get the same thing.
Sure.
A third party NPC, resource. Now, are they all the same variants? No, a god is obviously different than an army, which is obviously different than a guild. But to accomplish the same thing, you would just all do it in different ways. And that's the idea, right? Is this person wants to get boons from a god? Well, you can get magical items from a guild. And this person over here can, get people, like actual masses of people because of the armies, right? Those are all different means to the same end.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like that's one of the best things DMs who are making their own world can do, is whenever you want to create something that's an option, make sure that you're willing to give something of equivalence, if not the same thing, to somebody else in a different way.
Yes.
Because and again, it's not about, oh, this subclass can breathe water, so every subclass needs to be able to have an option to breathe water. That's not what I'm saying.
Exactly.
But it's that difference of, well, if this one's going to get a free cantrip, then maybe the other one should get a free magical item. Maybe the other one should get a natural ability like claws or wings or eagle eyes. Like that's the equivalency, right? It's not the same thing. It's just that it doesn't even have to be the same concept of he got a spell, so I should get a spell. It's just that if it was like this, there's 3 options. But if there's a clear option that's going to give me a spell, an innate ability, and a physical trait, and the other options are only going to give me a physical trait, then why would I ever not pick this other one? But if the other ones don't give me a spell, but the other ones give me, like again, breathing underwater and swimming speed.
Sure.
That's equivalent to the Revivify spell, right? I don't need a spell, but I got the abilities that make this character stand out in its own way and do a thing that the
you don't
other
feel like you're
absolutely
missing
can't.
out on a whole bunch by not going down this road. It's like you see these 3 options. It's like, oh, I would obviously choose this because that's got the coolest, the most grandiose, like whatever the campaign is. Even if it is a water campaign, I'm gonna find a reason to use that one because that one's just got more and cooler.
Exactly. And that's where the hardest thing is the bigger you build things. When you have religions and one god will give a boon to its followers, what how do you justify doing that? But same thing with High Point, right? You've seen it where depending on the person's build, some people get more from their backstory early on because other people have ways that are going to open up later, right?
Sure.
Like someone who starts with a god and starts as a paladin has way more opportunities to get boons from their religion. So they might not get as much to start with because their potential is way bigger.
Yeah.
But this person whose potential to get those things is way smaller may start slightly ahead with something that they don't quite understand yet and will grow. Like, so that's another one. A paladin who will eventually have God's favor, a good equivalent is start someone off with a magical item that they don't know how to use yet.
Sure.
That will open up and get more powerful and become more as they learn how to use it. Right? Those are two basic equivalencies, right? They work the same way, they both go to the same end, but they are for the different types of experiences that player and that character would have.
Sure.
So that's definitely one of the things that I would say is a hard skill to learn, but a worthwhile skill to learn is just always make sure that there is an equivalence to not choosing what appears to be the best choice, right? Like all choices should have an alternative.
100%.
And to me, I think that goes for anything, right? I personally don't like the idea that there should ever be something in your campaign that's required. Like a lot of people say, if you need something to progress the game, you shouldn't put it behind a fail, like a potential fail. Like 100%. If you need this key to get into the place where the BBEG is, that shouldn't be behind a pass-fail roll that everyone could fail, right?
Right.
Now, some DMs will be like, oh, we'll just have a different way around. And it's like, but the problem is you're basically saying you absolutely need this and you have a chance to screw the game up. Basically soft locking yourself. That's what we call soft locking in, or hard locking, just in video games, just locking yourself out.
I killed an NPC that has a required mission and now I can no longer go do anything else in the game. So I'm just...
So I get the mindset that you should never let that happen. But on the same mindset, I also believe that just shouldn't be a thing in general. Like for me in my my mindset, it's like there should never, like if something only has one way, like I'm not saying that everything has to have multiple ways. Like there are some things that are only one time, but I don't think anything should ever be necessary. Like again, in my game, if you want to go do something and there's only one way to do it and you fail, that's it. You failed, but it's not like the game's over. It's not like you can't continue gaming. It's just that thing you wanted to accomplish. Like, hey, I want to make the bus by 10 o'clock, but I left 15 minutes late. And so you get to the bus stop 5 minutes late and you miss the bus. Well, it's not like you can do anything about that, but it's not like your day's over. It's not like you can't call an Uber. It's not like you can't walk.
Yep.
Like there's other options. And that's what I mean by it is like, I don't necessarily think that everything needs to be able to be successfully passed. While other people say, nothing that needs to be passed should be locked, behind something that's lockable. I just don't think that there should ever be that situation. That's not necessarily great for most people who want linear stories, but again, I'm not a linear story kind of person. So my thing is,
So for you, would you say it's possible to lock yourself out of something, but just be able to continue to play the game without the thing?
Exactly. That's my whole point. Like the idea that you can leave a mission, like you can start a mission and just say, I'm not going to finish this. You can do that in High Point. Mm-hmm. It will have repercussions, but you will do it. Yeah. So in the case of, being able to want to progress in something, if there's a way that you could screw it up, right? Like, you have to get something absolutely correct, and if you don't, there's no other chances. That is available in High Point. There are so many opportunities like that. But the way that High Point works, none of those are required for you to play the game.
Sure.
You may not accomplish what you tried to set out to accomplish, and that's kind of what life is. But the game doesn't just go, oh, you failed, so let's stop playing, let's make a new character. It's just,
and I'll say,
you can't do that anymore.
For me, I feel like I do agree when it comes to certain things like that, but I'll say I never want to put something that is so integral to somebody. So like say like I have a character and like one of the big things that they want to do is they want to either find some book or they want to learn some spell or they want to do something, and like say there's a specific way that you should go about doing that. Like I have a hard time basically walking them into this campaign saying, hey, there's only one way to do this thing. And if you don't do this thing exactly this way and you screw it up in any way, then you're never going to be able to do it. And it just sucks to suck, you know, like, especially if that's what they're building a lot of
and that comes down to, I think, being a really good part of being a good DM is not just prepping people and being like, hey, you know, you could die, you know, things could happen and you could lock yourself out. But it's also in the way that the world operates, right? It's never just the big moments, right? It's just the little things, right? Oh, you forgot to talk to that person. You've already left town. You don't know what they know. But again, you also know that while that information could have been beneficial, I would never say, well, you didn't talk to the right NPC, so the information you need is now gone.
Yeah.
You just missed the easiest opportunity to ever get that information. Now, granted, there might be a time where it's like, hey, there's a book you want. This is like the book you need. And if you fuck up and drop it in lava, it's gone. Like, that's how High Point works. It's fucking gone. But, you know, if you're trying to like get a key for a vault and you screw up getting the key, that may be the last you get a chance for the key.
But see, like, I would say something like the book scenario where you drop it in lava. Like, I as a DM would put forth effort into finding a way to, especially if it was, this is the whole thing that they were going to do and it was just a super shitty roll that they rolled. Like, I would put effort into to saying, hey, yeah, that was the book you needed. Yeah, you destroyed it. You could try and figure out how to reconstitute it. You could try and figure out a way, like not like just dangle a pointless carrot in front of them, but show them that there is a way to move forward, even though something was fucked up.
Well,
like, yes, that was the book you need.
And that's why it should never, you know, again, all of my things are always like player initiated, right? All of those situations would never just happen because I'm just saying, hey, by the way, you're going to fail here, right? Like, it would always be being a good DM is letting players know as you're leading up to it, like how the choices that they're making are going to affect it, right?
Yes,
like,
I think that's a huge
it should never be blind. It's not like we're going to go 10 gaming sessions in and then at the last minute I'm going to be like, yeah, by the way, you know how I said that you could pass or fail? This is the pass fail roll. It's you know, it's always going to be one of those, like, you'll get hints like, hey man, everybody who's ever attempted this, you know, like, they don't live the failure. Or, you know, like everyone's only granted by this god one try. So if you fail the god, we'll never let you back in here. Now, that might sound definitive, but High Point is anything but. And that's what I mean by I don't think anything should ever be any required. If you have a linear story, nothing required for that linear story should be locked behind something. But for me, even linear stories can be open world. And the idea that, oh, you know, you all failed the roll to convince this guy to give you the information. While that was the easiest route, there should be an alternative, right? There should always be another way to do it or another way to continue the campaign, even if that was supposed to be a major point. And that's kind of my biggest thing is, yes, it's not easy, but even on a linear campaign, there should always be alternative solutions. And that will also lead into making sure you never lock them out of the needed key.
Sure.
Because that's, for me, that's the whole point is, like, let's say, again, you have a door, you have a key, and the key is behind a puzzle. And if you fail the puzzle, the key drops into lava and is gone forever.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. Now, again, if this is a linear story where this game ends if you can't get through this door, that feels like shit. In High Point, you know the game doesn't end. It's like, it's almost like that scene where it drops, it goes into lava, and you see all of your, you know, all of your hard work and all of your chances of getting to this door just fizzle out. What do you do next is always going to be what I say. Because now you realize, wait a second, it's not over. And I like that feeling because my players, hopefully by that point, know if I don't end the session, it's like, just because what you thought was your only way out, and that's the thing is, because of the difference of open world versus storytelling. With storytelling, you kind of have to tell them what the options are. Like, you'd have to then be like, well, have you looked at the hinges of the door? Do you know how old the door? Like, you can kind of push them to, there's another option here. But if you've gone this whole way of, we need to unlock this door, and you got that character who's been kind of pissed off at all of it, that's the kind of moment of like, do you guys do anything else? I mean, you went all this way. Like, hey, haven't you been so angry that you've spent all this time going after this key and you just, Mr. Barbarian, doesn't that make you mad? Like, you could just give them ways of like, just because the thing you were going after is gone. Like, yes, maybe maybe you can't get in this door now, but maybe there's another way to get what you want that getting through this door would have gotten you.
Sure.
Or maybe there's another way through the door. Maybe, again, like for me, there doesn't necessarily have to be this concept of there's 10 different ways, go figure out which one you want. But if you want them to solve a certain puzzle, that's fine. But if they fail it, you can't let that puzzle stop the campaign.
Sure.
And that's for me, that's where having that talent of thinking through alternatives and not necessarily backup plans, just, the idea of a BBEG protecting themselves with a one-time only use lock.
Yeah.
How would the BBEG leave? Like if a BBEG is behind a vault that you have to get perfectly, otherwise it locks itself forever. How is that benefiting the BBEG? Like, who made it, right? He has to get in and out. Like one of my favorite like non-D&D canon stories was a book. I listened to it on audiobook, but it was a book called NPCs. And it was an entire D&D story from the point of view of a few NPCs who had been left behind after adventurers basically came through and saved the town and then left. And these NPCs, basically the story picks up, the townspeople the adventurers just left. And so the story picks up with the NPCs basically having to like pick up the pieces and clean up after them.
Sure.
And one thing leads to another. They kind of get accidentally put in the position and mistaken for adventurers. So they kind of are just like, well, let's just go do this small little thing. And then one thing leads to another and they become adventurers. These NPCs just take the mantle of these adventurers. But it's not like just, oh, now it's an adventuring party where their backstories are NPCs. They're constantly in the mindset of just regular everyday people. They never become like they're becoming adventurers, but they
have the
aren't.
attitude of an NPC or of a adventurer, but they are taking the actions of one out of necessity.
And so the book gives so many unique insights. Like they try to go through this dungeon, right? But because of what they understand, like they don't have to go through the main part of the dungeon because with NPC knowledge, they were able to find out that like, well, when this dungeon was being made and all of these crazy things, there were these small passages that were made for like the gnome people that were building it, because the people who were building it couldn't go through 9 miles of staircase just to bring the next brick. So because of that, the NPCs were able to actually traverse this place through the secret passages. And it's just like, it gave all of this background knowledge again of how the things that aren't the adventurers live and breathe. And those are the kind of questions that I like to think about, right? Like if there's a place that you need to get into and the party is focused on this big giant gated door, well, if this is like a fortification, right? Like let's say it's a castle. Well, guess what? Castles are great to defend, but once a castle is breached, it's also kind of a trap for the people inside.
Yeah.
So usually castles have a back door.
Or emergency exit or something like that.
If a vault is so important that it would lock forever, do you think the owner doesn't have the backup lock or an override or a reset? Because that's the other thing that I like to think about is like, let's say you break this puzzle and you're like, oh my God, we'll never be able to get in there. And it's like, that's where I hope as a DM, I've primed my players to start thinking like, wait a minute, the game's not over. DM's still asking us for stuff, which means this may not be our only solution. It may be the only solution we've seen or thought about, like simply put, like vaults, in my opinion, the best one should have a reset. If it's like one of these complicated things where it'll shut down, it has to have a reset because BBEG's can have a bad day. If this literally only has one complicated way to open it, do you think the BBEG is coming in there and every single time?
Or what happens if the players are just like, screw it. We need to make sure that the BBEG doesn't have access to this thing. Let me just screw up your puzzle, lock you out of your own shit, and then you'll never be able to touch
kind of like an
again.
iPhone. I'm just going to lock you out of your phone by getting this wrong 1,000 times.
Dude. Yeah,
but that's the thing is like, what does iPhones have? A countdown timer to reset.
Sure.
Or a phone number to call.
Yep.
And like there are ways around it. And that's the thing that, I feel is the thing where it's like you can make the linear story lead up to something, but there should always be the opportunities for the players to think through what they've put themselves in.
I kind of like the idea that some people would be dumb enough to not put a reset in, like a newer BBEG,
oh, absolutely.
like a LBG, a little bad guy, like maybe
absolutely.
Maybe he didn't. Maybe he locked himself out.
I am not afraid of basically making things where it's like, if you don't succeed, that was it. Like, there really isn't another way to succeed what you were doing. But that doesn't mean that the overall idea of what you wanted can't still, like, take Vixie for example. Like, that with, High Point, every player goes through this scenario.
Yep.
And the scenario is just a one-time thing. Everyone just goes through it. You get one chance, and it's more of just like a little warm-up so we can get to know each other and see if we're going to have fun.
Yeah.
And then you create a character, and then you start to play. But, of course, Vixie had so much fun in that scenario that she's always wanted to go back and re-experience it and try new things.
Yep.
But she can't. Except player also understands that that's not how High Point works. Like, if this is part of High Point, it has to exist somewhere. And even though I have said you get to do this once, like, that is true. You get to do the scenario once.
You're not doing the scenario if you come back.
but again, she also knows how my mind works. And if that is part of your intro to High Point, that means it must exist somehow. And if it can exist, she knows she can, like, that's how High Point works. If it exists, the players have access to it somehow. So while I'm not lying and saying you can't do the scenario twice, you can't. You cannot do that one time, the first intro twice. But getting to the location it took place at. So that's kind of what I mean by you can't do it twice. You cannot go through the scenario twice. But what you can possibly do is find the place. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by there's always an adventure to be had, even if you lock yourself out of something. There should always be an option, and it should never be an automatic.
How close are you to questions about the scenario? Because I know you can't do it more than once, and I know there's like only certain things, but because one of the things I would ask is there any way to know what time frame of history individuals are going through the scenario? Like,
someone's asking the right questions. Someone is fantastically asking all the right questions.
Whenever you go through scenario, this is some time in like ancient history, and like whenever we find it now, it's just going to be abandoned and sitting here, and no one's ever seen it in a million years. Or do you have the possibility of popping in when somebody's in the middle of a freaking scenario? Now, granted, I think that would be highly improbable and unlikely, because you would likely have to be DMing for that person, or maybe it's a random person. Maybe it's not just PCs they get to. Who freaking knows?
I can at least ask that. I can answer that in a way. I think you did, and I think Vixie did. So some of my players did. I think only one player didn't. But most players have run into an NPC while they were in there.
That's true.
And those are real NPCs.
That's true.
And not only are they real NPCs, Vixie is actually, her character Ness is gaming with, like, she adventures with an NPC, not who she saw, but has been seen in another player's scenario. So she's actively with an NPC that was used in someone else's scenario. So not only real NPCs, but active NPCs.
Interesting.
So that's how I'll answer that one.
Definitely answers a lot of questions.
Does it now? Okay. All right. Well, we are going to call it there, because I have some food being cooked and I am starving. But thank you all so much for joining us today. Marty, thank you so much for the review and for the submission. If y'all are interested, you can submit on the Discord. Or in Discord, you can submit us anything that you have built homebrew, and we will review it on Mondays. We'll be back this Friday, probably with another brand new D&D discussions. I kind of miss just kind of going off on rambles, so maybe we'll do a handful of topics, and we'll just
see what happens.
Kind of just do like what we did today. Gonna post a teaser of the next one. Let's do it. Post that teaser.
Okay.
And I heard that Soul is very excited for their next submission. So, who is next Monday?
That will be something I wanted to discuss with you.
Okay, we'll figure that one out because it is going to be a big one. So next Monday, the 100th community submitted homebrew review on Monday, our 200th episode of D&D discussions. Maybe we can't do D&D discussions this Friday, because then that would ruin the 100 episode.
Oh, that's fair.
So, okay, we have to.
That's fair.
So maybe we'll do like OSR, or maybe we'll do one more game night or an IRL stream. Maybe we'll do like a mini painting. I don't know. We'll do something on Friday. to figure out, just so we don't lose the numbers, because 200, 100 will be great.
I like that.
We got to do that. So check that out. We will be back on Friday. Otherwise, if you see us live doing games, pop in, say hi. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend, and I hope you guys have a great week ahead of you. We'll be back on Friday. Cheers.
Deuces, my friends.